Hi, welcome back guys. This is your friend, the Scion Fanfics. Back with amazing fanfiction. This is the series of What if Deku had second mutation quirk? Now before starting, please give this video a like and subscribe to the channel if you want more videos like this. Now let's get into the fanfic. Izuku Midoriya is a strange child. He's quirkless, yes, and therefore must be useless, but most of his class still shy away from him for a reason not even they know. It might be the iciness of his skin, or the strange length of his limbs. It might be the sharpness of his nails and teeth, or the glow of his eyes, might be the way he doesn't blink enough, or the way he moves his head to look instead of his eyes. It might be the coldness of his smile or the dark rage in his expression every time he sees a bully hurt others. It could be many things, but people don't really care to find out, not when they can ignore him and everything he stands for. Izuku Midoriya is a strange child, alone and loved only by his mother, tired and lonely with nowhere to go. He reads and studies and tries his best to be a good person. He wants to help others, wants to go out into the world and make sure no one else goes through the same things he deals with on a daily basis. He hates it when others get hurt, standing in front of them even though they'll run away just like everyone else. He wants to be a good person, but it's hard sometimes. It's hard to do what society says is right, hard to help others when they look at him like that. Sometimes, the anger gets a little too strong, so he bites into his arm or digs his fingernails into his skin, puncturing the surface, tiny droplets of blood leaking out. People whisper about him, and he ignores it like everything else, ignores it and moves on, and still tries to help where he can. Everyone tells him what's right and what's wrong, who's the villains and who's the heroes, and he believes them, because there's no other choice. Kaken is a good person because he will become a hero, no matter how many times his hands burn Izuku's skin. Izuku doesn't doubt what he's been told, because he doesn't want to. Doesn't want the last steady thing in his life to be a lie, doesn't want his goal to be a hero to be washed away like everything else. But life isn't kind to lies, and doubt seeps in from the cracks. The first time Izuku doubts heroes, he's 7 years old, staring at a small child on the playground. There's blood underneath their fingernails, skin flaking around their neck, a lonely look in their eye that makes Izuku want to help. He walks up to the bench, lunchbox at his side, holds out a hand, and says, "Hi," with a smile. At first, all he gets is a confused expression, a question unspoken, silent communication Izuku almost understands because he gets needing to be quiet, gets needing to pass under the radar. Tamura is his name. Young, but older than Izuku, small, but taller. Thin, and no buts there, he's just thin and concerningly so. Izuku wants to offer him his lunch, so he does, offering to split the food his mother made. Tamura says yes, confusion still in his eyes, shoulders still tense like Izuku will bite him the second he lets his guard down. That's fine, most people think that. Izuku splits the food evenly, giving Tamura some of his sandwich and half of his apple slices. He gets a small smile in response, a guarded thing, but it's plenty enough for him. Honestly, it's more than enough, more than he's received in a long time. Most people would either run away or punch him if he offered them his food. Tamura doesn't, despite the strangeness surrounding him, but Tamura doesn't know who Izuku is, so that will change. And it will change in a few seconds because here comes Kaken with his friends close behind, laughing at Izuku, calling him a quirkless freak, telling Tamura that he should run before Izuku infects him, like quirklessness is a disease. Only, something different happens this time. Tamura doesn't look at him with disgust, doesn't move away like he's taboo. No, he actually ignores the laughing and keeps on eating his lunch like nothing's happening. Kaken gets mad, tells the new kid that he should PSS off back where he came from if he isn't going to speak. I don't know, seems to me like you should PSS off. I was just minding my business, after all. They all freeze at the tone this new kid uses. It's not the guarded one he took with Izuku at first, or the surprised one when Izuku didn't run away. No, this is low, dark, angry. Dangerous. Kaken must notice that something is off, because he just walks away with a huff, acting like it was his idea to leave in the first place. The second he's gone, Izuku looks up at Tamura with awe, shocked that he's still here and even more shocked that he stood up to Kaken. That's not something people do, not around here, at least. He looks up at his new friend with a smile, because that's what he is, a new friend. He didn't run away when he felt Izuku's icy fingers, didn't turn on him the second he learned about his quirklessness, isn't even ignoring him. He isn't angry or annoyed, he just got rid of Kaken for some reason. That's a little confusing, but it's nice not having to dodge more burns just because he dared talk to someone. Tamura smiles a small smile when Izuku calls him a friend, and that's that. He has a new friend. They meet up the day after, and the day after that, over and over, on the same park bench. He has a new friend who he can talk to, who doesn't run away no matter how strange he gets. It's like all the things other people shy away from don't matter, like Izuku is normal despite the fact that he isn't. But, things start to change the longer they're friends. Things start to shift in Izuku's mind, important things that he's never questioned before. They talk and trade information, and train and study together, they learn and grow together, and Izuku starts to wonder why Tamura is different. He talks about his analysis, Tamura gives him things to analyze. Tamura trains him to be faster, stealthier, quieter, he shows Tamura how to heal deep wounds. Neither of them is the best teacher, but they're both young, so that's to be expected. Izuku is the one to help Tamura with his homework, despite their 5-year age gap, showing him how to solve the problems the older boy just can't figure out. Tamura calls him a genius, which can't be true because his grades are average. Kaken is the real genius, he has amazing grades. Only, Kaken is becoming Bakugo because Tamura's rants about how the blonde is a bully kind of makes sense. That must be why Izuku gets so angry when Bakugo hurts other people, that must be it. Izuku and Tamura talk and train and work together, and things shift in Izuku's mind, but Tamura changes, too. The closer they get, the more he talks. Talks about all the little things in his life that bother him, about the gross hands he doesn't want to wear anymore, and then about how glad he is that he doesn't have to. He talks about the weird creatures in his home and how he wishes he lived with someone who he could be comfortable around. Izuku has questions, so many questions, and they grow every time Tamura slips up about something in his life, and one day, he finally asks, "Why don't you go to a doctor?" "For what?" "For the itching. It must hurt, so you should go to a doctor." "My mom's a doctor." "Well, she's a nurse, but that's doctor adjacent, no, adjacent. Anyway, you should go to a doctor." Tamura doesn't respond for a second, shoulders tense and eyes looking off into the distance. Izuku doesn't worry, used to this reaction by now, used to the silence before the words. It's part of their dynamic, part of their friendship. They're both quiet people, despite all the things they talk about. "I can't." That snaps Izuku out of his thoughts, body straightening as he looks at Tamura in confusion. "Can't? Why not?" "My mom's hospital treats me, and I'm quirkless." "Is that why? Are you quirkless?" He hasn't seen his friend's quirk yet, but Tamura never touches anything with all his fingers, so he thought it must have something to do with that. "That's not why." You promise not to tell on me?" "Tell on him?" "Well, they're friends, so Izuku is fine with keeping a secret." He nods, looking at Tamura with a small smile of support. That's all it takes for everything to pour out, the pain, the suffering, the quirk, the dust, the fear. Izuku listens, not once interrupting, not once flinching away. It wasn't Tamura's fault, so why would he be scared? It's obvious he's learned how to control it, so it must be fine. Only, there's other stuff. A sensei, a hand around Tamura's throat, telling him what to do. That makes Izuku mad, makes him want to tear at whoever has Tamura locked up like a villain. "I'm a villain." "No, you're not. You're a victim." That makes Tamura confused, makes him look at Izuku like he just grew a second head. So, Izuku explains. He tells his friend about everything his mom warned him of, her fear of the possible outweighing her wish to let him stay ignorant of the darker side of things. Tamura listens with rapt attention, having learned long ago to trust everything that comes out of the younger boy's mouth. He listens and learns and stays silent long after the words have stopped. They sit like that, Izuku waiting for a response, Tamura waiting for the words to respond. They sit like that until the light starts to dim, until the stars start to come out, the night sky stretching out above them. Izuku knows he should go home, but he's not leaving until he knows Tamura is okay. "It doesn't matter, I can't leave." That's not what he was expecting. Anger, confusion, maybe even disgust, but not dejected confirmation. The heroes won't help, and the police are useless. "I can't leave, but I'll be careful." Izuku wants to argue, wants to drag Tamura home with or without his consent, but he doesn't. He sits there and watches his friend walk away, wondering why the heroes wouldn't do anything, wondering why Tamura would say that. A few days later, a hero asks him if he wants an autograph. She looks a little uncomfortable, a little worried, but she still talks to him, which is more than they usually do. He says yes, but there's a question in the back of his mind, bursting at the seams, begging to be let out. So, he lets it out. "I have a friend, and his dad is really mean. He's always hurt and is scared to ask for help. Is there any chance you could help him?" This is it. She'll say yes, and he can save Tamura and bring him home. They can be brothers, do everything together, go to the same school. They can. "Sorry, hun, that's not my line of work. Heroes don't do stuff like that, maybe go to the police." "What?" "But, the police won't do anything, they never do." Izuku has told the police about all sorts of things, and they always say to ask a hero. She walks away without a second glance, not even bothering to call said police for him. He watches her go, confusion in his mind and anger in his heart as his fingers itch to write down all her weaknesses. He won't, but it's a close call. In the end, he ends up sitting next to Tamura with his head tilted down, a frown on his face. He tells his friend that he talked to a hero, and all he gets is a look of pity and a request that he refrain from approaching any more. After that, they talk about everything but that one conversation, about all the things they used to talk about, like Izuku isn't wondering what's going on in the world. It must be that one hero, others would help. She's just a rotten apple, as his mom says. The first time Izuku doubts heroes, he's 7 years old, staring at a small child on the playground. It's not the last. Not even close. Only a year later, it happens again. He never asks another hero. The urge is there, but Tamura asked him to stop, and he isn't one to disrespect a friend's wishes. The notebooks on his bookshelves start to fill up faster than they ever did before, stocked full of analysis and drawings, and support gear ideas. Tamura believes Izuku could be a hero if he wanted, and Izuku almost shares that belief. Over the months, he's grown to doubt the way things are, but only a little. He steals another student's test, compares it to his own, and frowns when he sees that the teacher marked his answer wrong, even though it's identical to the correct answer on the other student's test. It's confusing, but he explains it by stating that Aldra must be one of those rotten apples. From then on, he studies more on his own than with the school curriculum, learning things much more complex than Aldra could ever teach him. He learns about calculations and formulas that help him with things he's curious about. He learns about problems and solutions, and everything in between. He learns, and he has fun doing so, going to libraries and looking at online resources until his mom gets him a laptop just so he can write notes on something other than notebooks. One day, after a good 2 hours spent at the library, he ends up heading home in a new direction. It's late, and Bakugo is likely at home by now, but it's become habit to find a different route once a week to try and stay out of the blonde's way. There are fresh burns on his back, and he would like to avoid getting any more, if at all possible. This route is longer, winding through the city in an area he's never been in before. He's on guard, fully aware that there's more to worry about than a schoolyard bully. Monsters live out here, monsters in human skin. Dark allies and dangerous men, those who do not care what quirk he has but are drawn to the weak, and Izuku looks weak. He's thin and small, despite the unusual length in his limbs, despite the strangeness that surrounds him like a blanket. Those without kindness do not care that he is strange, they only care that they can get something out of him. So, it's no surprise when a hand grabs him by the collar and yanks him into an alley. Izuku almost yelps, but stops himself at the last second, keeping himself quiet. There's panic and fear in his chest, but he's dealt with this before. No one is around, so he'll have to deal with this by himself, have to use what his friend has taught him. And Tamura has taught him quite a lot. Did you know that quirkless people have abnormally powerful jaws? Well, this thug does now that he's missing a finger, rolling on the floor in pain, sobbing like a child. The cries are loud and broken and will probably alert someone, who will probably call the police. Biting someone's finger off is probably considered excessive force, even without using a quirk. Time to go. Where do you think you're going, young man? Izuku does yelp this time, jumping back before looking up at the shorter hero in front of him. And she must be a hero, no one else would wear an outfit that looks like that. Her long, white locks drape down behind her, a striking contrast to her dark skin. She's wearing a light-colored uniform, so probably a limelight hero, then. Strong arms, stronger legs, larger feet than normal, rabbit ears, feral grin on her face. This must be the new hero that just debuted, one of the more promising ones, if you ask him. What are you doing out here, Miss Maruko? That catches her off guard, her smile turning surprised but no less gleeful. Really, she looks more happy than anything. You really know your stuff, little rabbit. I like you. How about I teach you how to fight, and I won't call the police on you? How does that sound? What? Oh, don't act dumb. Me. Train you. You have promise and a strong jaw, probably because you're quirkless. And, according to this notebook you dropped, you want to be a hero. I'm a hero. I have a lot of training, and you need some help getting fit. How about it, Bunny? Quirkless? Hero training? Bunny? What? Act alive, Bunny. You have 5 seconds to agree or disagree. 5, 4, 3 dash. Okay. I'll be your student. Sweet. Now here's a water bottle, get that blood out of your mouth before the police get here. The mention of blood reminds him of the unpleasant taste on his tongue and of the finger he spat onto the ground a few minutes ago. Was it a few minutes ago? This is happening so fast it could have been a few seconds ago. He accepts the water bottle, swishing the liquid in his mouth and spitting it out into the tiny spot of soil in the corner until the taste is gone. Miruko is tying up the passed-out thug behind him, not showing a hint of strain even though she's manhandling a villain almost 2 feet taller than her. She's really strong. Okay. Let me check your mouth so we don't have anything tying it back to you. Is she tampering with the crime scene? He opens his mouth wide, keeping it open until Miruko nods in satisfaction, silently noting that she doesn't seem all that disturbed by the strange sharpness of his teeth as she tells him to act distressed. Sure enough, the police pull up not a few minutes later and start asking her questions. They barely pay him any mind, focusing on the hero as she weaves some bullshit story about God knows what. Izuku ignores it, focusing on acting traumatized. He must be convincing, because the police leave after a few minutes with a thug in the back seat and a Miruko waving after them. Well, now that all that's out of the way. Here's my number, Bunny, you better call me, or I will find where you live. Is this normal? Probably not. Well, at least he'll get training out of it. So, he goes home. No one tries to grab him, he doesn't even bother keeping track of his surroundings, fully aware that any thugs probably ran off at the sound of sirens. Inko is still at work, so he walks into an empty room and no food on the table. That's fine, he's used to it. She needs to support both of them, all on her own. He understands how hard that must be. Miruko's number burns a hole in his pocket until he finally types it into the small phone his mom got him for emergencies. He mostly uses it in the rare chance that he runs out of paper while writing analysis, the notes app all that's been opened regularly. Miruko answers in a matter of seconds, telling him to meet her at a specific address Saturday evening. Right, Limelight. He can do that. Saturday arrives fast, and Tamura tells him to go for it because this is his chance to get stronger. He walks into the warehouse with anxiety wrapped around his neck, but feels a little less intimidated when he sees her in civilian clothes instead of the hero uniform she was wearing last time. Granted, it's still exercise clothes, but much more casual than that stupid leotard. He needs to talk to her about that uniform and support gear, though he isn't sure she will listen. Before he's able to actually voice his concerns, she drags him over to some floor mats and tells him to showcase everything he knows. He does as instructed, showing off the things he learned from Tamura and Hero Tube while trying to stay loose. She looks neither surprised nor disappointed. That means he probably met her expectations, that's good. What's not good is the feeling of his muscles dying as he drags himself home after 2 hours spent exercising and practicing ways to get out of random situations. Miruko, who wants him to call her Rumi, is ruthless. She hammers things into his body every other day, without fail. He struggles to keep up, but is more than happy to learn, even if it means he feels like he's dying on a regular basis. It's fine, he's going to be a hero. Throughout his training, he secretly makes a few different sketches of hero uniforms for her, and one day she grabs the paper he's drawing on and asks if she can use it. They end up working on a perfected version together, leaving her with a new uniform and a whole lot of press asking her who helped design it. He's so proud of his work, he creates a stage name and tells her to present it. Of course, he doesn't have any other work, but it's still nice to have a name out there. His short stint as a designer doesn't affect his work at all. If anything, Rumi pushes him harder every day he's distracted by anything other than their training. She teaches him like he's already a hero student, doing much more than just physical training. Basic fighting, martial arts, parkour, yoga, freaking dance. She trains him everything she knows, and then some, and he doesn't complain. He watches her fights, he tracks her movements, he learns about who she is, he improves her uniform, but the longer he thinks, the more questions he has. From questions about her family and quirks to the 3 main questions that floated around in his head. Why was she there that night, why is she fine with his strangeness, and why did she ask him to be her pupil? Those 3 questions are always in the back of his mind, always asking to be let out. One day, they sit on the edge of a roof, talking about random things, and Izuku finally bites the bullet. How did you know you wanted to teach me? It couldn't have just been that one instance, could it? Oh, I saw you stab a dude with a pencil and run away, so I followed you for a few weeks and checked you out online. People called you strange, but you never hurt anyone unless they're trying to kidnap you or kill you, which is admirable, and you're just a tad bit feral, which is just what I like. You're a good kid with a good heart. Why wouldn't I nab you? She followed him. Well, that's not exactly off-brand for her, and it's not like she was planning on kidnapping him or something, so that's fine. Why didn't you just get someone from a hero school? This is where things change, her expression lowering, her hands tensing around her soda can. Silence stretches between them as she thinks, eyes staring up at the stars and ears twitching in the wind. They sit like that until she decides to talk, her tone a little lower, a little darker than it was before. I don't feel like supporting a system that creates child soldiers. Child soldiers? What? He doesn't get to ask a question, only able to watch as she goes back to her dramatic self and starts ranting about all the things she used to do to PSS of her teachers. The change is so sudden, and so short, Izuku almost wonders if he imagined it. She doesn't go back, doesn't bring it up again, doesn't even try to explain. She just moves on, like she never said it in the first place. But even though they don't talk about it again, Izuku can't stop thinking about that phrase. Child soldiers. Is that all they are? Child soldiers? A second seed of doubt takes root, digging into his brain. Rumi is so nice, so good. Feral, but for all the right reasons. She would never hurt a good person like Bakugo does, never kill someone like Endeavor. She's a good hero, and she's training him, but she's not putting him in the field, she's not making him fight other people. Sure, they spar, but it's friendly. Is this not what hero schools do? He finds himself wanting to find out for himself, wanting to go deeper into the background. UA High, the ultimate hero school, the hero school of all hero schools. He's going to get in, and he's going to figure out what she means. Izuku is 8 when a second seed of doubt takes place. It only makes him more determined. So, he works, he trains, he pushes himself as hard as possible. By age 9, he's able to outrun Bakugo without even trying. By age 10, he wins his first spar against Rumi. By 10 and a half, he's almost stronger than 15-year-old Tamura. Tamura, who stays by his side no matter what happens. Tamura, his only friend. Tamura, who suddenly disappears for a month without explanation or text. Izuku panics, using all the tools he's learned to try and find his friend. Nothing works. Another month passes. Rumi is concerned, but doesn't push it when he says he's fine. As a last-ditch effort, he goes to the police. They don't do anything, just as he knew they would. A week later, Tamura shows up at the park like he never left. Izuku hugs him, asks what happened. His sensei almost died. All Might almost killed him. Suddenly, Izuku is interested in the number one hero again. He watches, he writes, he learns. There's a hero out there who would be willing to save Tamura, so Izuku needs to do his best to figure out how to tell him that Tamura's sensei is still alive. He watches, he writes, he learns, and he ignores the whispers and the looks, and the teachers that call him strange. He can't figure it out. He turns 11, celebrating it with a tired mom before taking a slice of cake to the playground to share with his friend. Tamura is there, something that always makes Izuku feel a little better. He's scared that if Tamura leaves for good, everything will go back to how it was. Bakugo mostly leaves him alone now, but the patchwork scars stretch at his growing skin, reminding him of what happened, of what could happen again. He knows that Bakugo is getting training, his family is rich enough to hire trainers, but whoever they are, Izuku is sure they don't teach like Rumi. Rumi is special, she doesn't care about his ego, she doesn't care about what he wants. If he does something wrong, then she beats it out of him until he gets it right, and he's almost certain that Bakugo will never take orders from someone who doesn't kiss his feet. So yes, if he had a quirk, he'd probably be stronger than his old bully right now, but he doesn't have a quirk, so that means he needs to play smart. Rumi knows how to play smart. She has a quirk. She's strong, super strong, but she's not cocky enough to think there aren't others out there stronger than her. She fights dirty, not like all those other limelight heroes. Some villains might win in a fair fight against her, but she doesn't fight fair, she fights to win. So, Izuku trains, and reads, and learns, and trains some more. He works his butt off until he's suddenly turning 14, and when did that happen? Wasn't he just 11? It's time to look into high schools, he has his eyes set on UA. The teacher tells the class his goal, obviously trying to start some sort of conflict. It works, the class laughs, Bakugo gets angry. Izuku doesn't care. Bakugo tries to corner him, tells him to take a swan dive off the roof. He jumps out the window and climbs down the side of the building, ignoring the momentary look of fear of Bakugo's face. His bully wasn't scared for his well-being, he was scared that he'd get a mark on his record. That's just how it is here, how it's always been. It's fine, he needs to get home anyway, it's his mom's day off, and they always hang out on her day off. So, he chooses the short way home. The world around him blurs together as he wonders why on earth kids can leave red flowers on his desk with no repercussions. He knows why, he does, but still, why does that have to be the case? It's fine, he's not suicidal, even though plenty of people like him probably would have followed Bakugo's advice. He has a friend, a mentor, a mother. He has people who love him. Tamura is 19 now, and they don't see each other as often, but they still text. They play online games, they talk, they analyze. Apparently, his sensei is getting better, is strong enough to walk now. That's not good, but he can't seem to find a way to alert All Might no matter how hard he tries. It's fine, he's fine, Tamura will be fine. All these thoughts distract him, but it's a safe route, so he doesn't need to be alert, right? Apparently not. Izuku doesn't know what's happening until he's choking on sludge, struggling to figure out what's going on. There's a villain, ranting about bodies and how Izuku has the perfect one even though he looks strange, about how he'll finally escape, and how stupid the number one hero is. He can't really see anything, but he can see white, the only white thing amongst green goop. That's his target. 1 second, he's hanging in the air, unable to breathe, the next, he's on the ground, a blood-coated pencil in his grip as he coughs up green sludge on the ground. The villain writhes in pain, but not for long. In a matter of seconds, a burst of air washes through the tunnel, and suddenly the sludge is gone, leaving Izuku leaning against the wall, staring at the towering form of All Might. Wait, All Might. This is his chance. Except, All Might is leaving. No, he can't leave. He's never going to have a chance like this again. Latching onto the hero's leg is not, in any way, a calculated move. It's not smart, as a matter of fact, it's stupid, but he needs to tell him. He can't mess this up. Young man. What do you think you're doing? They land with a thud, Izuku trying his best to stay focused. I have a thing I need to ask you. 2 things actually. I really need to know if a quirkless person can become a hero. I mean, you're probably going to say yes because you spend all that time talking about how anyone can be a hero and I've been training dash. It's not what he was planning on saying, but the question has been at the back of his mind for ages and this is All Might so it'll probably be fine and… Poof! Izuku startles, spinning around, only to see a cloud of smoke slowly float away in the breeze. And there, in the center of the strange phenomenon, is… What? How? Okay, take a deep breath, don't freak out. Ask questions. And don't freak out when you learn that this sensei dude did a little more than lose a fight. Oh my god, no wonder All Might stopped going out as often. And… So no, I don't think you can be a hero. Izuku freezes in place, eyes wide as he stares at the man in shock. What? Can't be a hero? He doesn't have time to fully register the situation, All Might gone in the wind before he can even think of asking about Tamura. Sheet. That's not good. None of this is good. Izuku stands there, staring over the edge of the building, remembering Bakugu's taunt. He doesn't actually consider jumping, but he remembers, and a third seed is sown. The suicide baiting, the teachers purposefully taunting him, the whispers about how strange he is, the number one hero telling him that his dream is pointless. He doesn't really believe that though. Rumi thinks he can be a hero, and he believes her. This is just a misunderstanding, All Might was just worried for his safety, nothing more. If he knew that Izuku has been training, that he's been working for years, then maybe… An explosion snaps him out of his thoughts, big enough to be seen from a few miles away. A hero fight, he should go and analyze it. The door is locked, and the fire escape is broken, but climbing down the building isn't very hard. Something in the back of his mind reminds him that most quirkless kids wouldn't be able to do what he's doing. It's fine, he's fine. He runs toward the explosion, getting a little exercise in while also trying not to miss the good part. There, around that corner, it's the sludge villain. And is that Bakugu? But, All Might caught it. Izuku tries to think, tries to figure out what happened. It must have been while they were in the air, while he did that stupid thing. Sheet, he was selfish, and now Bakugu might die. Why aren't the heroes doing anything? Why are they just standing there? Izuku watches as his bully struggles, explosions keeping the heroes back. Izuku can see 5 different things the heroes could do to help the situation, but they're all just standing there, waiting for a better quirk to arrive. That's stupid. Even he could do something in this scenario. Wait, he could do something. He could. Bakugu is scared. And that's all it takes to get him moving. He bolts toward the nearest building, climbing up the edge until he's high enough to jump down. Good, the villain hasn't seen him yet. Just a few more feet, there, he just needs to jump down now. Right on top of the sludge villain. He doesn't wait, pulling out a pencil and jumping as far as he can reach. Someone yells, he ignores it, and his pencil is digging into white in a matter of seconds, the villain screeching and writhing in pain. Bakugu gasps for air, given a short break while Izuku figures out the next step. He should have figured out the next step before jumping in, he realizes that now, but he doesn't need to because suddenly, All Might is here. Izuku watches, safely on the ground, right next to his bully, as the number one hero punches the air so hard it makes the weather change. It's fascinating, and he finds himself itching to analyze the situation, but now's not the time. Bakugu is coughing, still struggling to breathe. Izuku leans over and picks him up, earning an unceremonious yelp as he walks towards the emergency services. For the next half hour, Izuku is given 1,000 reasons to hate heroes. They berate him, while praising Bakugo. They don't check him for injuries, don't ask him if he's okay, don't even bother to do a once-over. They sit him down, learn he's quirkless, and call him stupid and reckless, and an idiot. Some reporters hound All Might, but the hero disappears rather quickly, probably because of the injury. That's fine, Izuku understands. And after that show of power, he gets why All Might said no. Anyone would be wary of putting a powerless person in the line of fire if they had that type of power backing them up. It still wasn't okay, leaving him on a locked roof like that. All Might should have known better, but it's fine, Izuku's fine. He's so fine, he doesn't even cry as they berate him, staring off into the distance, waiting until he can go home. After a whole 30 minutes, they finally release him. It's with much scoffing and anger, but they release him without a single doctor checking him over, but it's fine. Bakugo looks at him weirdly, but doesn't chase after him. That's fine. He walks home alone, tired, staring at his phone. Rumi asks if he's okay, he says he's fine. His mom asks if he's okay, he says he's tired. Tamura asks if he's okay, he stares at his phone, unsure how to respond. He doesn't get to respond though, his body going tense and jumping back when a towering figure bolts in front of him with a shout and a smile. Wait, All Might? What is he doing out here? I am here. Ready to Izuku jumps back for a second time when the hero deflates once again, green eyes looking around to make sure nobody saw it. For someone so mysterious, All Might sure does do a horrible job of making sure no one is watching. Izuku doesn't say anything, though, handing the hero a handkerchief, which is taken with a small, thankful smile. Young man. I come with thanks, a correction, and a suggestion. Thanks? For what? And a suggestion? Izuku listens, intrigued. All Might thanks him for changing his opinion on things, feeling a little hopeful that maybe he'll take his words back. Is this it? Is this the proof he's always wanted that heroes are actually good people? You can become a hero. The words are serious, and Izuku finds himself smiling, tears of joy sliding down his face, a habit he's been trying to break. This is it. This is finally it. A big hero said what he's been waiting to hear. And now he can talk to him about Tamura, and he'll help, and everything will be oh. You are worthy to inherit my power. What? Inherit? Your power? Ha 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 ha. What's with that face? It's just a suggestion. The real show starts after this. What? Listen, young man. You need to decide, a long, bony finger points towards him, whether or not you will accept my power. Izuku jolts, still wiping up the tears of happiness that were apparently premature. Inherit All Might's power? What does that even mean? I'm talking about my power, young man. The tabloids called it superhuman strength and a boost, and I constantly dodged the question during interviews with a funny joke. Because the symbol of peace, All Might, had to be a natural-born hero. But, young man, I will tell you the truth. The truth? About his quirk? What is going on? Why is he being so dramatic? My quirk was passed on to me like a sacred torch. All Might throws his hands up, looking straight at the sky. What? Passed on? That's right. And next, it is your turn. Huh? Izuku can confidently say that he's never been more confused in his entire life. There's been confusing moments, sure, but nothing like this. A quirk that can be passed down? A power that's been around for generations? A power to transfer power? A power that gets stronger each time it's passed on? How does something like that exist? What is the story behind it? One for All, it's called, and Izuku has some real questions as to why it was named that. And then there's this whole thing with All Might wanting him to be the next successor. Something about Izuku's heroic spirit, his wish to do good, his willingness to help others no matter what it takes, the way he moved without his body's permission. Though it does sting when he's called just a strange quirkless hero fanboy. Like, is he trying to be insulting? Izuku isn't even that big of a hero fan. He just knows a lot of stuff. Still, a power like that. Izuku's only human, and that kind of offer. So, yes, he does find himself at a deserted beach not a day later, with a plan to get strong enough to accept this power. 9 months, there's 9 months until the UA entrance exam, and All Might wants him to have the quirk before then. And isn't that thought, that he'll have a quirk? Speaking of training, tonight is one of his scheduled days with Rumi. He'll have to tell All Might that he has plans. Well, you won't need that training anymore, young man. You have me. I'd still like to train with her, she's my friend. All Might looks at him in contemplation, like he's deciding whether or not to allow him freedom. Izuku doesn't really like it, but it's the #1 hero, so it should be fine. Well, how about we work on strength and you work on the other stuff with your friend? Just strength? Ah, at least he was planning on including other stuff originally. Right? Sounds good. And that's how that ends. They spend a good 2 hours lugging trash around, cleaning a beach that's about to give up the ghost. Well, Izuku lugs trash around. All Might, or Toshinori, just watches or sits on the things he's dragging. It's quite the muscle workout, but doesn't really do a lot for him in the end. Toshinori seems pleasantly surprised with his base strength, so that's nice, but apparently he has a long way to go. That evening, he walks into Rumi's warehouse with sore muscles and a full head. He tells his mentor about an opportunity, leaving out names and, the fact that he's getting a quirk out of it because he was sworn to secrecy. It's not Endeavor, right? He flinches back, oh god no. No. This is a good hero, I just need to keep it quiet, okay? She sighs, looking at him with her hands on her hips. I guess. You'll tell me if anything goes wrong, right, Bunny? Of course. Okay, good. They spend the rest of the evening practicing martial arts, going through drills as he nurses sore muscles and aching limbs. It's fine, he's fine, everything is fine. All Might is a good man, a good hero. Izuku just needs to figure out how to break the bad news to him. Figure out how to tell him that the fight that ruined his body isn't over. He needs to do it, but he can't figure out how. So the weeks pass, blood, sweat, and tears falling down his body as he trains harder than he ever has before. It feels like he's lying, like All Might would never give him this quirk if he knew the thoughts in his head. How he's hurt thugs, how he's bitten of people's fingers, how he's wanted to rip the throats out of bullies. It feels like he's lying, but this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, so he stays quiet. It's fine, he's fine, he can get through this. The work is hard, the training, harder, but he pushes through. Bakugo ignores him, sending glances his way, staying quiet. It's not all that different from normal, but it's still a little unnerving. What is he thinking? Izuku pretty much saved his life, no matter what the heroes said. And Bakugo is smart, he knows that. Izuku is training, and he's getting bigger, wider, stockier, and Bakugo definitely notices. The whole class notices, the whispers get quieter, the looks spread out, the teachers ignore him more often than not. That's fine, he's fine, everything's fine. Months start to pass, the beach steadily repairing as he works his way through it faster than All Might ever thought he could. So fast, he's almost completely finished by month 7, even though he's only supposed to be cleaning half of it. Mom taught him how to cook for himself, so he's been eating better than ever, growing like a weed. His body still looks strange, limbs just a little too long, skin just a little too pale, eyes a little too bright, anger still simmering under the surface, but he's taller now, taller than Bakugo. He thought his old bully would be mad, but Bakugo just huffs and walks away when one of his lackeys points it out. So yes, he's growing and learning and building muscle, and at month 8, the beach is finished. The day that happens, All Might drives up with a small smile, but something much more real than the big one he usually wears. He talks about how proud he is, about how amazing Izuku did. It's nice, Izuku likes it, likes the praise. It's not like Rumi, but it's nice. And then All Might plucks a hair from his head and hands it to Izuku like it's a 5-course meal. What? He gets a rough explanation, and, yeah, eating a hair does sound more appealing than drinking the man's blood or something, so he'll take it. Still, though, gross. Izuku eats the strand with a grimace, standing stock still, waiting for it to kick in. Nothing happens. It might take a few hours. Come back tomorrow, and we'll figure things out. And that's all they do that day. Izuku goes home, thinking hard about how the quirk might manifest. Isn't that crazy? He has a quirk now. So cool. The next day, he jogs all the way to Takoba Municipal Beach Park, still trying to feel whatever is inside him. All Might is there, smiling that same old smile. Let's figure this out, he says, never dropping the grin. You can do this, he says, as Izuku tries to focus on finding the invisible thread. Nothing happens. They do that for hours, trying different techniques, working different angles. Nothing happens. He goes home dejected, eating a quick dinner before heading out to meet Rumi. She's there, waiting for him, like usual. And isn't that crazy, the number 5 hero waiting for him, training him? She was new when they met, but she never left him behind. He talks as they train, ranting about how it didn't work. She's a little confused because, obviously, he can't tell her that he earned a quirk, but that's fine. Well, why don't you try something you come up with? You're smart, I'm sure you can fix this problem on your own. Sounds like this mystery person isn't all that smart. That's an idea. He walks home that evening with a notebook in hand, sorting through distinct possibilities, writing down unique plans of action. The next day, he tells All Might that he's going to try something different. All Might says to have at it. For the next hour, he goes through the list, trying everything. There are 12 options, 12 plans. He only needs to get to plan 8 before it finally works. He focuses on his core, imagining a hand dipping into an invisible pool of energy, lifting up just a drop. All Might said it could break his bones if he's not careful, so only a drop. Just a little. Toshinori gasps when lightning starts to crackle over pale skin, green and thin, eyes glowing with venom, a feral smile spreading across Izuku's face as he just feels. It feels good, but it's hard to move. He struggles to lift his feet, keeping the power as small as he can manage. It aches, but no more than sore muscles after an extensive workout. It's fine, he's fine. After about 5 minutes of just holding it, he lets go, letting the lightning dissipate around him. Bravo, young Midoriya. Bravo. He did it, he got a quirk. Holy shit. He did it. Bravo. Okay, do you want to stop, or can you keep training? Let's keep on training. As you wish, young Midoriya. They train for hours, his bones protesting the rough treatment, but staying together. It feels incredible, the power under his skin, the lightning in his veins. It feels like it was made for him, like this was his destiny. This is it, this is the turning point. He can save Tamura, he knows it. He just needs to work, train, keep going, practice more than anyone before. He'll train until his limbs fall off if it means saving his friend. He still needs to tell All Might, but maybe he can get into UA first. That night, he texts Tamura. I had a quirk awakening. I have a quirk now. What? How? My body wasn't ready for it, it activated when I tried to lift something too heavy. My fingers are a little bruised, but I'm okay. That's crazy. How strong is it? I don't know yet, but I'll train until I do. I'm getting into UA. I'll learn everything I need to. This is it, he can do this. Rumi is so surprised when she sees him light up green, she crushes her soda can without thinking, bubbly liquid running down her arm. Holy shit, kid, you have a quirk. It's awesome, right? It is. But you know you could have been a hero without it, right? I know. Watch what I can do. He showcases the new strength, lifting the fridge in the corner with one hand. She tells him he no longer has any excuses to make mistakes in their sparring. He still makes mistakes, but he beats her one more time than usual. It's amazing. Month 9 comes around so slow, he doesn't know what to do with himself. He trains, every day he trains, he pushes and pushes until his limbs ache and his back complains, and then he trains some more. He sometimes meets up with Tamura, talking about analysis, about his new quirk, about everything and anything and then some. He trains with Rumi until his limbs protest, he trains with her until fighting is like second nature. He also learns, reads and studies until his brain is oozing out of his ears. Online classes, Coursera, Harvard, the library, everything he can get his hands on. He learns and learns and learns, and eventually it feels like the world is his oyster. He knows how to code, how to make websites, how to make robots. He knows how to analyze, how to observe, how to write. He knows how to do complex math, how to calculate, how to discern. He knows what has happened in the past, in Japan, and all over the world. He knows how to speak English and Russian, and also Wakandan just for kicks. His mom is so happy, she hugs him every chance she gets. They eat dinner sometimes, but usually just snuggle at 2 a.m. in between her shifts. They talk at 6 in the morning as she eats the breakfast he makes. He works out even at home, going through calisthenics routines in every corner of the house. It leaves him feeling raw at the edges, especially when he keeps full cowling activated the whole time, a name he came up with while training with Toshinori. Month 9 comes around slowly, but it means he's ready when the day finally comes. All Might gives him a sheet motivational speech, Rumi gives him a much better one. Tamura seems annoyed, but that's understandable, some hero schools are sketchy, but UA isn't like that. It couldn't be. He still has questions in the back of his mind, still has those seeds of doubt spreading each day. He ignores it. The day of the entrance exam, he wakes up like every other morning, shadows pulling at his arms as he drags himself out of his bed. And, like every other morning, he ignores them until they go away. Though something's different this time, they're more solid, stronger, harder to ignore. It's fine, they still go away. He splashes water on his face and gets ready for the day. Tamura texts him, then Rumi, then Toshinori. It's nice. His mom takes the day off, drives him to the school, hugs him before he walks in. He's confident and proud, and ready to work. Which is, of course, the first time in months that he does something clumsy. The brick seems to spawn out of thin air, tripping him up, his body tilting forwards as he gives in to gravity. Except, gravity decides to be weird, and he ends up floating in the air. No, that's a quirk. Uraraka is nice, kind, happy, though she does do a double take when she touches his skin. He thanks her, itching to write notes on her quirk. It's an amazing quirk, probably has a nasty drawback, one he could help her with if given enough information. Hopefully, they can talk about it in the classroom after being accepted. That would be nice. Izuku walks into the exam room with his head held low, a blank expression on his face as he ignores the inevitable stares. Thankfully, most people ignore him, focused on the difficult obstacles ahead. He doesn't feel the same dread as they do, he can do tests, he's good at tests. This will probably be a very hard test, but he's got this. It's almost a guarantee that everyone in this room has studied during summer break, but Izuku has been taking classes for years, learning things that aren't usually on a high school exam. Despite that, he is under no illusion that he'll get through this easily. It's UA, for heaven's sake, this is a hard test. But he doesn't need to be perfect, he just needs to do better than other people. Sitting down at his desk is nerve-wracking, staring at the pro hero Midnight, less so. She's their proctor, and she definitely has a sharp eye, so cheating would be stupid, not that he would ever consider cheating. There will probably be at least one person cheating in this room today, though, and he prays that poor person will be able to get into a high school after this. It will be an issue of their own making, though, so he doesn't feel too bad about it. The clock counts down faster than he thought it would, inching closer until Midnight is telling them to get ready. He settles into his seat, staring at the pencil placed next to his paper. A pencil they provided, just in case. Almost there, just a little longer. God, this is stressful. You can now pick up your pencils. Start. He opens the booklet with a small smile, looking over the first page and smiling even wider when he recognizes all the problems. It's a big booklet, this will probably take him the whole exam time if he wants to triple-check it. The first few questions are relatively easy, but they slowly switch to more complicated topics, then interesting topics, then difficult topics, until he's sitting at his desk scratching his head about a question he's never seen before. It's not all that complicated, but it's unique, he has no starting point. Well, at least he knows how to think on the fly thanks to Rumi's many lessons. There's a decent chance that he answers the question correctly, but he's not going to get his hopes up. The last few pages are hard, really hard, but they're all questions he's seen before. It takes him a good 15 minutes to finish just the last two, but he still has a little over 40 minutes left to double-check. He finds 17 problems with issues the first time he scans his answers, 3 problems the second. There could be more, but time is almost up, so he's just going to take a deep breath and trust that he did his best. Midnight looks at him with a raised eyebrow when he turns it in before everyone else, almost like she wasn't expecting him to turn in his work before the time ran out. That's fine, he's used to people underestimating him. He walks out of the room feeling a little less confident than when he walked in, but that's fine, he can do this with or without a perfect grade. Again, he doesn't need to be number one, he needs to do better than others. The room where they're debriefed on the physical exam is very, very large. It looks big enough to carry at least 3 schools, if he was counting. Makes sense, a lot of people want to get into UA, him included. He walks to his assigned seat, feeling a little nervous when he realizes it's assigned by school. That means he's probably sitting next to Bakugo. That's not very nice. Sure enough, Bakugo walks in with a huff, apparently mad that Izuku finished the exam before him. Well, at least he doesn't try to attack. They mostly ignore each other, staring at the stage as the room slowly fills up. Hundreds of people filling the seats with either excitement or dread. There seems to be no in-between, and Izuku can understand that. Everyone is in their seat about 5 minutes before the presentation is supposed to start, probably by design. The smartest creature in Japan created it, after all, of course everything would go exactly as planned. Bakugo stays quiet, staring at the stage with his arms crossed. He keeps on staring until Present Mike rises from the floor, energy and drama galore with his call and response. Nobody makes a noise. It's probably the nerves, but Izuku kinda feels bad for the hero. Thankfully, he just moves on without bothering to try again, giving them a breakdown of the test. Izuku imagines he's writing notes, making pencil marks on thin air with no pencil as he logs away everything in his head. It's the easiest way for him to remember things, but apparently he's too loud because some hyper kid points him out while complaining about the presentation. Anger floods his chest, but he's used to pushing it down, aware that he could have been quieter but also aware that this kid probably thinks he's smarter than everyone else even though it's obvious that Mike isn't finished yet. Seriously, the cockiness of that dude. Whatever, he needs to focus on the presentation, which doesn't last much longer because they were already mostly done. There are a few more notes, mostly about the 0-pointer the loud boy yelled about, and then they're set loose. Getting to the testing grounds takes a second, but he manages to get all the way there without touching anyone, so he only gets a few looks when he steps out of the bus. He stands there for a second, staring at his group, glaring at the loud boy with blue for a second before narrowing in on Uraraka. She's chewing on her nails, shoulders hunched over. Maybe a distraction will help. He starts to make his way towards her when a hand grabs his shoulder, anger flaring up again when he sees the same DMN boy that interrupted Mike. That girl appears to be trying to focus. What are you doing here? Are you taking the entrance exam to interfere with everyone else? Oh, this little sheet. Izuku tilts his head down to look the boy in the eye, trying his hardest not to do something stupid that would get him expelled from the exam. People are whispering now, staring at him in his baggy clothes and assuming he's weak. The blue boy looks a little less sure of himself the longer Izuku glares at him, but he still obviously thinks Izuku is lesser. He wants to bite and claw and shout, but he just holds his tongue and walks toward the gate, ignoring the blue boy's shouts. Better to ignore than to fight, just ignore it like you ignore everything else. His skin is covered, but he still looks strange, still hears the whispers. God, he hates this, hates all of this. Ignore it, focus on the test, ignore it, wait for the cue. Wait. Okay, start. Now. Izuku bolts, running as fast as he can to try and find the best area. He's a little confused when he doesn't hear footsteps following him, but that's fine, he needs to focus on himself. He has one for all activated at 2%, as high as he can hold it without injuring himself. This is good, all he needs to do is find the robots, and there. It's smaller, but he gets rid of it in under a second, crushing it with a well-timed kick. The next ones are bigger, stronger, but it still only takes one kick until he finally runs into a three-pointer. That one takes 2 kicks, but it still takes only a few seconds. After that, people start catching up with him, which adds a new problem. Collateral damage. More than once, he has to drag someone out of the path of falling cement or an ill-timed laser beam from a robot. It's slowing him down, but he can't just leave them, they're humans who could get hurt, even if they do stare at him as he leaves. In real life, they could die from injuries like that, so yeah, he really can't just leave them. Still, it does slow him down, so by the time he starts hearing screams, he's almost tempted to ignore them in favor of trying to get a few more points. His curiosity wins, though, making him jog toward the sound until he sees what's happening. Ah, well, that 0-pointer is definitely bigger in person. He stares up at the machine, eyes wide as he watches it destroy a building. DMN, that's a bit much, even for UA. Well, it's not like it's going to hurt anyone, it's probably programmed to just act big and scary, so it's fine. That's when he hears it, a familiar voice calling for help. Out of the corner of his eye, he sees that cocky kid again, engines in his legs. Running away, huh? Not very heroic after all. Izuku bolts forward once again, scanning the field until he spots Uraraka under a pile of rubble. She looks pale, and her quirk isn't working the way it should. Oh boy, talk about backlash. Not good, she doesn't have the strength to get out of there. He slides to a stop next to where she's trapped, scanning the rubble for the issue. I'm gonna get you out of here. Take deep breaths, Uraraka. Deep breaths. She's crying, but her expression does look more relieved when he starts talking. Probably worried that no one would help. Well, he's here now, so it'll be fine. Only, he can't lift the cement. It's weird, the cement is fake, he should be able to lift it easily. What is going on? He scans it again, looking inside this time. There. A mess of metal pipes, tangled together. Sheet, that'll take time to untangle, do they have enough time? Yes, it's fine, they wouldn't actually have it trample them, it's fine. He has time. Izuku gets to work, shifting and raising and lowering different cement slabs until the pipes are finally untangled. Uraraka starts crying again when he pulls her out, holding on to him as they limp away. He goes to pick her up, trying to get away faster when she yelps in pain. Sheet, she's injured, and he doesn't know where. If he holds her wrong, it could make the injury worse. What can he do? What can he do right now? Just like 5 minutes ago, he scans his surroundings, eye-catching on a mess of wires at the 0-pointer's neck. He can get up there. He knows how to climb. Yes, this will work. Okay, Uraraka. I'm going to set you down here. I promise I'll be right back, okay? Everything will be fine. She's reluctant to let him go, but does end up releasing him from her death grip when he slowly sets her on the ground. This is it, this is where he tests nearly half the skills he's ever learned. For a third time, Izuku bolts forward, running up the leg with one for all activated at 3%. His bones ache, his muscles burn, but he's doing it. He's got this. He's up the leg, he's up the torso, he's almost there. Right there. Wires, thicker than his arm but just as breakable as every other machine he's fought today. Sure enough, he barely has to try to snap. The wires, not even bothering to use his legs, hands ripping them apart with ease. The machine crackles and sputters to a stop, standing in place like it chose to stay there. Izuku shouts with joy, jumping around on the shoulder until he realizes that he should probably get down. Uraraka needs help, after all. Time's up! Izuku jolts, almost tripping when Present Mic's voice rings over the field. Well, shit, guess he can't get any more points. That, kinda stinks. He definitely did worse than other people, not good. Man, hopefully his written test will make up for his lack of points. He climbs down the machine slower than he climbed up, making sure not to overuse his quirk. Man, his joints hurt, but he's not going to think about that until Uraraka is safe and cared for. Uraraka, who is waiting for him next to a giant foot, looking at him with a strange expression he would call awe if he didn't know any better. That was amazing. How did you learn how to do that? Maybe it is awe. Practice. She looks confused for a second, but the sound of Recovery Girl calling everyone distracts them both. Izuku smiles, excited to meet yet another hero. Of course, that's when he remembers that Uraraka needs help, calling over the doctor with a tense smile as he tries to stay strong for who may be his second friend ever. Recovery Girl does heal her up, but immediately turns to him with squinted eyes as she looks at the way he's nursing his limbs. You're injured, let me heal you, stupid boy. That was a stupid thing to do, you could have gotten crushed. What? You're telling me Nizu would make those things dangerous? He gets a raised eyebrow at the question. He's smart, not kind. Oh shit, that's not what he was expecting. Well, you live and you learn. Will Uraraka be okay? She'll be fine, dearie, just eat these gummies, okay? He munches on the sweet, watching Uraraka droop lower and lower like a deflating balloon. He waits for her to perk up before giving her his phone number and immediately running away like a coward. He can't help but wonder what she would think of him if he were still quirkless. Honestly, now that he knows the test was actually dangerous, he can't help but think about a lot of things. What would have happened to those kids he saved if he weren't here? Has someone died during the exam before? Has someone been permanently injured? What were the proctors thinking? Over the next week, he can't stop thinking about it, radio silence from All Might, but Tamura and Rumi check up on him every day. The longer he thinks, the fewer things make sense. He made a friend, but his friend could have been permanently injured, crushed under a massive robot with no way to get out. She could have died. He thinks, and a fourth seed of doubt is planted. But it's fine, he's fine, everything's fine. Nothing bad happened, and surely the proctors would have stepped in if he didn't. Sure, the machines were dangerous, but there were still people watching. It'll be fine, he's sure of it. He tries to focus on other things, but when the worry finally calms down, a new one pops up. Did he get in? Other people definitely got more points than him. If he counted right, he got 45 points, which could either be plenty or way too little, depending on his calculations. Bakugo probably got more like 70 or 80 thanks to his disregard for other people, but not everyone is like Bakugo. He just needed to do better than others, not amazing, and he doesn't know if he even did that. So, when he gets the letter, his mom shaking with excitement, he decides to open it in private. He sits there staring at the paper, a little part of him wondering why it's so much heavier than it should be. That doesn't matter though, did he get in? Did he succeed? He opens it slowly, scared of the contents, jumping when something falls out. There, on his desk, lays a little disc. What is the? I am here, as a projection. Izuku jolts back, staring at the image with wide eyes. What is All Might doing here? I had to do some paperwork that took some time, so I couldn't contact you. I'm sorry, what on earth? Actually, I came to this town to work at UA. All Might? Work at UA? I have some good news for you. Not only did you pass first place on the written exam for non-recommended students, you also would have passed second on the physical with 47 points. Would have? But, young man, that isn't the end of the story. It isn't? You see, what kind of hero school would we be if we didn't count it when you do the right thing and save others? Wait, what? You, my boy, managed to get a grand total of 70 rescue points. More rescue points than anyone in the history of UA. That means that you actually got first place with a whopping 117 points total. Not only did you pass, but you also managed to break the UA entrance exam record? Seriously? What? This is a job where people risk their lives to put their money where their mouth is, and you have officially made UA history with your strength and willingness to help on top of your impressive intellect. How on earth? So, my young boy, I am proud to say that this is your hero academia. Holy shit. Language. Breaking the news that he made a new entrance exam record to his friends and family involves lots of tears and hugs, and a joy that fills his whole body like a glow stick. Tamura, despite his misgivings over the whole hero school thing, does say that he's proud of the accomplishment. Rumi, who also has misgivings about hero schools, is much more enthusiastic, but still beats him into the floor during their sparring match. Inko just cries and hugs him and makes him dinner for the first time in weeks. Waiting for classes to start is nerve-wracking. He doesn't stop training, doesn't stop moving, but it's always at the back of his mind. He talks with Uraraka, enjoying her company, glad she was also on the list of those who got in, glad she doesn't find him too strange. She keeps saying that he's a huge inspiration and that she's training more now. Izuku isn't sure why, but it's kind of her, so he just accepts the praise and moves on. More than once, Rumi says she can't wait to work with him in 2 years, when he has his provisional license. He tells her that it isn't going to happen because she can't just change her whole policy on no internships for one person. She pouts, telling him that he's ruining her fun. It's funny. Toshinori is so proud of him, he almost chokes on his own blood while trying to initiate a hug. Poor man, he needs a break for real. Still, no wonder he's been in the area for so long. Izuku's been wondering why All Might was staying in Mizutofu for 9 months, and he finally has an answer. Kind of crazy, the answer. Isn't there a conflict of interest in there somewhere? Well, he's sure Nizu knows about their relationship, so it should be fine. The day classes start, he meets up with Uraraka at the gate with a small smile, following her into the building with just a little fear dragging at his limbs. What will his class say? Will they shy away like everyone else? Will they think he's weak even though he got first place? He's so caught up in his thoughts, he almost misses the yelling, a very familiar yelling. Bakugu. Great, they just had to be in the same class. And of course, that blue boy with engines on his legs had to be included as well, probably a relative of Ingenium. 7th place in the physical, if he's remembering correctly, and the fact that both of them are arguing doesn't help matters. Izuku tenses when Bakugu looks his way, aware that the boy is probably fuming that he got first, considering their history. So, when all he gets is a strange expression and a huff before Bakugu turns away. Well, you can understand why he doesn't fully absorb whatever Ida is saying. Right, Ida, blue boy, talking to him. And it was very impressive how you figured out that there was more to the test. I shouldn't have dash. I didn't know there was more to the test. What? I saved people because it was the right thing to do. I'm not all-knowing, I assumed they told us everything, just like most people would. Ida looks at him, his mouth hanging open, as Izuku makes his way to his seat. Right behind Bakugu, great, just what he needed. Uraraka chuckles, but does go through the process of becoming Ida's friend, so maybe Izuku will need to do that, too. Kind of annoying, he'd prefer to try befriending the poor, traumatized boy in the back of the class. Poor thing, probably Endeavor's son. Makes sense that he would be traumatized, anyone unlucky enough to have that BSTRD as a father probably has issues. Okay, focus on class, it's the first day. It's the first day. It's also the first day Izuku realizes that he may still be a bit too much of a hero nerd. Apparently, he's the only one in the entire class who recognizes the pro-hero Eraserhead. Amazing quirk, incredible execution, Izuku would worship the ground their sensei walks on if it would mean getting a single personal training session with him. He knows Toshinori likely wants him to be Limelight, but he's always wanted to go into underground work, and Eraserhead is the underground hero. Oh, what he would do to get some up-close analysis of this man. Nope, focus, quirk apprehension test, oh boy. It's fine, he has a higher baseline than most people, and that's amplified by his quirk, so he should be fine. Oh boy, expulsion, that's not good, but it's fine, he's fine, it's fine. Sure enough, he's not last, sitting comfortably in 5th place with a fuming Bakugu wrapped up in capture tape not 10 feet away from him. God, that was so cool, seeing Bakugu pacified like he wasn't the strongest person in their middle school. Bakugu's place as number 1 is gone, Blondie boy will now have to work for that spot. Izuku does feel a little bad for this Toru Hagakure, it would have been nice if that purple kid got last instead. God, does he hate perverts. It was a logical ruse to make you work harder. Yaoyorozu, or, Momo, says that it was obvious. Izuku almost wants to scoff, because that couldn't be further from the truth. Eraserhead was fully prepared to exp Minoru Mineta, you are expelled. Led. Welp, he wasn't wrong. Most of the class gasps in surprise, but he can see the relief in some of their eyes. Even the redhead looks relieved, huh? He makes note of that. Mineta gets dragged away with many tears and sobs, saying that it isn't fair. Izuku kind of agrees, it really wasn't fair how that disgusting pervert stole a seat from a worthy student who is probably now in Gen Ed. At least they'll get a new one after the sports festival. That evening, he meets up with Rumi, telling her all about their first day. His mentor congratulates him and says that she's proud he didn't beat Bakugu to a pulp the second he had a reason. Izuku has to remind her that she's the one who wants to beat his bully to a pulp, not him. That earns him a laugh and a pat on the back before she drags him to the mat and forces him through enough drills to make his head spin. So, nothing more than usual. Inko isn't home again, but that's fine, he knows how busy she is. He eats alone and plays a game with Tamura until he passes out. No homework after all. The next day of school is pretty much a disaster and leaves him questioning who gave his mentor a teaching license. Battle trials? They haven't even tested their uniforms. And what's with him calling them outfits? Izuku has to physically keep himself from popping from the strain of staying quiet, a tense smile on his face as he picks at the cheap fabric they used for his uniform. God, does he hate it, the whole thing is a disaster, nothing like what he described. The cargo pants only have 2 sets of pockets when he asked for 5, the jacket has a false zipper where there's supposed to be a pocket, the shirt is just a FING shirt, no padding or protective gear. They gave him random straps with no attachment for weapons on both his shirt and hips, the socks aren't made for steel-toed boots, the goggles are made of cheap plastic, and they gave him the wrong kind of knife. The only things they got right were the compression sleeves, gloves, and compression socks. That's it. Kirishima compliments him on his uniform, calling it a costume. Izuku almost cries as he says thank you, both because it hurts and because people aren't ignoring him. But, of course, the costumes aren't even the worst part of the day. He's pitted against Bakugo, which is a horrible idea, but it's nice working with Uraraka. Somehow, he gets out of it with just a few burns and only one hole in the wall. Something he will be boasting about when he talks to Tamura tonight. Toshinori isn't thrilled with Bakugo about the whole trying to blow up his opponent thing, but Izuku managed to move fast enough to peel off the gauntlets before it actually happened, so it's fine. Uraraka got the bomb using his plan, and he somehow got VIP because of said plan, so yeah, everything's great. Expelling Bakugo because of a fight he had with Izuku probably wouldn't end well. And Izuku, for one, doesn't want to deal with it, so he tries his best to ignore the whole situation. So, moving on to the next situation. Todoroki, and isn't it cool that Izuku guessed who he was, is much too cocky for Izuku's liking. He understands why the kid feels that way, he would be cocky, too, if his dad beat information into his head every day for who knows how many years, but still. Izuku could have broken out of that ice in a matter of seconds, and judging by the look he gets, Todoroki knows that. Man, he really wants to befriend that idiot. He doesn't have time today, stuck writing notes as he watches the class go through the motions. Pretty much all the uniforms are sheet, and Izuku is still pretty sure they were supposed to test them before doing any sort of combat, but Toshinori is a good guy, so it's probably fine. And in the end, that's how day 2 goes. He writes notes while nursing a small burn, and Bakugo pouts in the corner about his loss. Yaoyorozu is smart, and Izuku sees why Toshinori specified that he didn't win first in the overarching written exam scoreboard. He's not too salty about it, really, he didn't intend to get first the regular written exam in the first place, so he'll take it. Day 2 ends with homework and a 5-minute chat with Uraraka over the phone, where she tells him how Ida is actually a nice guy if you get to know him. Izuku is skeptical, but he goes to bed after promising to try and get along with the boy. In 3 months, Izuku won't remember day 2 all that well, but the one after that. That's where things start to change, where the doubt starts to grow. For seeds are still burrowed in his mind, so far feeding off nothing more than scraps as they try to expand. He doesn't let them, the idea that society as a whole is corrupt nothing more than preposterous. He doesn't let them grow until the guard is forcefully removed. Day 3, April 9th, the media break in. For some reason, they choose him as class president, which he turns down, giving Yaoyorozu that spot and Ida the spot as vice. That works for him, they're responsible. He goes to lunch expecting nothing more than usual, expecting everything to be normal. That's when the alarms start. Loud, fear-inducing alarms that create a mob of panicked teenagers. Izuku sees outside the window, sees the break-in, but Ida is the one to tell everyone. Good for him, Izuku is distracted, trying to figure out how the media got through in the first place. He tries to figure it out, but the school doesn't tell them anything, doesn't give them an explanation. He asks Eraserhead before going home and gets some half-butted explanation that makes no sense. Why would they lie? Why would they hide it? Maybe to prevent panic? For some reason, it sticks, living in his mind all throughout the week as they go through the motions. This class is different, weird. They don't stare at him, don't whisper behind his back. Someone asks why his skin is so cold, he says he doesn't know. Someone else asks why his teeth are so sharp, he says his dad had a dragon quirk, they both move on without complaint. People talk about day 8 of school, about the fun they'll have on their first field trip, but Izuku can't find it in himself to partake in their excitement. Something feels off, and he knows the teachers must feel it too. But no one gives him an answer, and he climbs on a bus 10 days after school starts, watching his class buzz in their seats and poke fun at Bakugo while he stares at Eraserhead without blinking. The hero stares back, obviously feeling the same thing he does. He knows that he must be right, that there's something wrong, that he's not alone. USJ is large, intimidating, and it feels dangerous, like a trap. Eraserhead grimaces, but doesn't tell them to get back in the truck. They walk in, Uraraka fawning over one of her favorite heroes. 13 is cool, but Izuku can't stop looking at the exit, can't stop wanting to run away, can't stop wondering why on earth Toshinori isn't here. And then he learns that he was right. Villains, led by someone much too familiar for his liking. Izuku wants to scream, to yell, to curse at his friend. Is that what's been rubbing him wrong? That Tamura hasn't talked to him since the break-in? No, he felt weird before that. But this can't be happening. If Tamura does this, then All Might won't save him. All Might won't save him. Don't worry, I'm not interested in killing kids. Kids, like they didn't grow up together, like he wasn't Izuku's best friend. The mist villain spreads them all over the building. Izuku gets Tsu out of their area in a matter of minutes. He stands next to the plaza, telling Tsu to get to the exit, to leave him behind. She protests at first, but then he glares at her with an expression that must bleed into his anger, because she freezes before leaving without complaint. That's fine, he's fine, it's fine. A monster stands there, and Tamura is staring at Eraserhead with admiration in his eyes while ranting about killing All Might. That's right, isn't it? Tamura has always admired underground heroes. So, why does he use his quirk to peel off a layer of Eraserhead's skin? Izuku had never seen his quirk, but he knew what it was, knew it was dangerous. He's the one who gave Tamura the idea about artist gloves, after all, the one who taught him how to be careful. Those artist's gloves aren't here now, bare hands brushing against pale skin as Tamura fights with a smile on his face. Not even a few minutes into the fight, most of the thugs are down, leaving Eraserhead, Tamura, and that strange monster in the corner. Izuku doesn't notice that he's moving until he's in the middle of the plaza, standing in front of Eraserhead with Tamura's arm in his hand. Leave. Tamura looks a little scared, like he doesn't want to do this. Is that what's happening? Is that stupid sensei forcing him to do this? Izuku should have told Toshinori sooner. Maybe this wouldn't be happening if he did. I can't leave. Yes, you can. Tell your portal you're leaving and walk through it. I have things I need to do. He doesn't notice his quirk activating, green lighting arching over his skin, liking at Tamura's arm, singeing his sleeve. Tamura looks scared, and it's for a different reason this time. No, you don't. All Might isn't here, so leave. Please stay away a little longer, All Might, just a little longer, and you won't even be needed. Tamura struggles to answer, but eventually JRKS back, calling the portal, Kurojairi, and telling the villain to take them home. I'm done dash. I am here sheet, damn it, they were so close. Tamura smiles, but Izuku sees now that it's tense, not real. He turns around, staring at All Might before looking at Eraserhead, who is visibly struggling to stand. His teacher's eyes look at him in confusion, and that's when Izuku realizes that stepping in probably wasn't a good idea. Watching All Might fight the Nomu is insane, air pushing him back as he struggles to help his sensei move towards the exit. All Might should be fine, right? Well, apparently not, but Todoroki and Bakugo help in that area, which ends up with the Nomu flying through the roof and Tamura running away with a bullet in his hand. Izuku doesn't feel all that bad for him, considering the position his friend put him in. Now they'll have questions, and he won't have answers. But that doesn't happen. They never question him. Eraserhead looks at him with confusion in his eyes as he's loaded into an ambulance, but no police detain him, no detective interrogates him. Day 3 of school is when things start to change. Day 8 of school, that change takes a turn for the worse, but neither of those days are the last. The day after USJ, Izuku wakes up in a cold sweat, remembering scenes from a dream, remembering faces he's never seen, pulling at not-so-invisible shadows as he struggles to get out of bed. They told the students not to come in for one day, so other than a session with Rumi tonight, he's free to ruminate for several hours. He exercises and studies, but the image of tall figures standing in front of him and black strings holding him down never leaves his head. That night, he has the same dream. He wakes up feeling rubbed raw at the edges. The training with Rumi helped his nerves, but everything else still itches under his skin. The images stay in the back of his mind as he stares at a text sent to him last night. Tamura apologized, but didn't give an explanation, only making the anger grow. So, he walks to school with eye bags and a full mind. No one arrests him, he just walks into school and listens in surprise when Eraserhead says that the sports festival is still on. What? Why? Isn't that dangerous? He has so many questions, and his mind buzzes without end. Is nothing going to happen? Are they just going to ignore USJ like it didn't matter? 18 days later, he's walking into a stadium, wondering why this is happening, why he's still having these dreams, why All Might wants him to make a statement when he's just a 15-year-old student. Todoroki looks scared, still refuses to use his fire, and Izuku still aches to help him but just can't stop thinking. He ends up giving a speech, and everyone likes it even though it was thought up on the spot because no one told him about it. What is going on? What kind of joint is this? None of this makes sense. He wins the first event, barely wins the second, and ends up in a random hallway listening to Todoroki's story as he tries his best not to break the concrete wall behind him. Apparently, Endeavor is even more of AD than he thought, but there's no way he's leaving this stadium without getting Shoto to use his power. He can take a break from the thinking. Shinso is amazing, his quirk is amazing, and Izuku would write a million notes and kiss the boy for helping if he wasn't so distracted by what he saw in the shadows, an image so similar to his dreams, but occurring while he's wide awake. He barely has time to learn how to ignore the new information before he's fighting Shoto in the ring. It works, Shoto uses his power. Izuku still wins. And he wins the next one, and then Bakugo is standing across from him with sparks on his hands and fire in his eyes. Izuku isn't afraid, doesn't flinch when he's burned. People scream his support, stand and clap when he gets a hit in. They ignore his strangeness because he's strong, and that stings because they never did that before. Izuku wins, but it's just as close as his fight with Todoroki. The podium is tall, All Might makes it feel short. The metal feels heavy around his neck, he almost throws it out when he gets home. Tamura says he did well, Rumi says she wishes she could nab him for internships, he says she shouldn't. The nightmares are still there, under the surface, the shadows still pulling him down. It doesn't matter, life moves on. He gets a tablet the next day, full of heroes asking for his presence. Endeavor is on there, he wants to accept just so he can burn the man's agency to the ground. He doesn't. Shoto does despite Izuku's protest. He gets a new uniform, upgraded, actually useful. One of the many uniforms he designed for his class, each of them receiving something that helps them fight instead of just making them look cool. Toshinori asks why he needs weapons. Izuku isn't sure why he shouldn't have them. It's fine, this is fine, he'll stick to his guns, and Toshinori will understand. Even after all the offers, he ends up with All Might's mentor. The old man is crazy but effective. Izuku learns techniques even Mirko never taught him. He's also praised for all the work he's gotten through so far. He breaks 7% on One for All, it feels amazing, he still can't stop thinking about everything that's happened, about the nightmares that won't go away. Hosu forces him to stop thinking. He recognizes the Nomu, he's angry, but he doesn't know what he can do to fix things. Gran Torino gives him permission to protect himself and others. He fights Stain, a crazy man with ideals that ring true despite his horrific methods. But Izuku's seen the statistics, seen that things change for the better where Stain goes. He looked them up after learning about Ida's brother. Ida, who has become a friend, Ida, who lays bleeding in the alley while Izuku tries to beat some sense into him. That's when Stain speaks. You walk on a knife's edge, hero? You are true, a pure heart, but I can see the questions in your eyes. Just a few more seeds, and the knife could tip. Be careful, or you will become me. For a second, fear fills his chest, then anger, then something bursts from his skin, black, inky tendrils lashing out, grabbing Stain in a grip so tight the villain almost chokes. Izuku struggles to calm down, but he does, quickly figuring out that the tendrils respond to his emotions. Shoto stares at him in confusion, Ida looks scared. Izuku also isn't sure what's happening, but Stain can't move, so it's fine. He wins. He didn't need Shoto's help after all, he wins before Ida is even. Off the ground. Shoto uses his ice to wrap the villain up before the police are called, Izuku somehow gets rid of the black tendrils in that short time. The police come, Endeavor comes, Izuku tries not to act too angry. A Nomu picks him up off the ground, Stain saves him, the police still don't question him. He ends up on the news, people talking about the hero student who defeated Stain, about the way Stain saw him as someone on par with All Might. They didn't get the part where Stain warned him about his path, where the man said he could become a murderer. He leaves with more questions than he arrived with anger under his skin, confusion in his mind. School restarts, he learns more, he trains more, he reaches 10% with full cowl, he keeps beating his class, he keeps training with Rumi, he shows everyone the strange new quirk. There are questions, but he says he doesn't know. But he does know a little, because his dreams have changed. The people talk now, a man telling him the quirk's name, other men telling him that he needs to be careful, that he doesn't know everything. He wants to ask for clarification, he can't talk in his dreams. It's fine, he's fine, everything's fine. He gets through final exams, working with Bakugo despite his anger. Bakugo works with him, for some reason, and they pass with flying colors. He runs into Tamura at the mall, tells the man that he's being stupid, that he needs to leave. Tamura just tells him what he says every time. I can't leave, there's no other option for me. For the first time ever, Izuku wonders if he's right. A fifth seed is planted in that mall, tears streaming down his cheeks, fists clenched, lightning arching off his skin, tendrils writhing under the surface. He calms down, tells Uraraka that everything's fine, buys some new clothes. It's fine, he's fine, everything is fine. Summer camp starts. He trains just like usual, he trains and trains and trains, and hurts and burns and silently sobs into his pillow at night. He trains until he's reached 15%, then 17, then 20, the quirk growing faster, stronger, better. He floats off the ground and doesn't tell anyone because it's strange, and he's tired of being strange. The anger simmers, the confusion spreads, the seeds grow, the voices get clearer. He almost kills Muscular. He doesn't feel bad about it. Bakugo is still taken. He ends up in the hospital, arms wrapped up, the first time he's ever broken a bone with his quirk. Kirishima wants to save Bakugo, Izuku kind of wants to see what's going on, so he drags himself out of bed and follows. And then, Izuku sees the sensei for the first time. He suddenly understands why Tamura doesn't have any other options. But All for One is locked up. Tamura should be free. I can't, they'll arrest me. There's nothing I can do. Is that it? Is that all that's going to happen? Is this the end? A sixth seed is planted when Toshinori tells him about All for One and One for All. Why wasn't he made aware of this before he was given the quirk? Why didn't Toshinori tell him he could die? But it's fine, Toshinori had his best interest at heart. Right? He gets his provisional license. He shows it off to everyone except Tamura because they're not talking right now. It hurts, but it's fine. He meets Detective Tsukachi again. The man is an excellent police officer, a good detective. Izuku almost spills everything about Tamura, but doesn't. He has his provisional license, and Rumi says they should work together, but he already has a work offer he feels like he needs to take. Night Eye is harsh, calls him strange, questioning if he really wants to be a hero, but seems to accept him in the end. Izuku trains with Mirio, a good hero, a good boy. He trains and wins spars, and trains and fights until Night Eye tells him to go on a patrol for the first time since Hosu. The seventh time Izuku Midoriya doubts Hero Society, it's for someone else. It's not because of the starburst scars on his skin, or the aching in his bones. It's not because of the way he was treated as a child, not because of the whispers, the looks, the pain. No, the seventh time Izuku Midoriya doubts Hero Society, he's standing in front of a hospital door, guarding it with his life while a hero yells in his face. He doesn't budge, doesn't speak, just keeps a neutral face while a small girl cries in the room behind him. Night Eye doesn't care about the crying. He's mad that Izuku compromised the mission. Mirio stands beside his teacher, looking at the floor with a remorseful expression. It's too late now, he can't take back the words his sensei is spouting. His sensei, who looks about ready to sock Izuku in the jaw. Izuku doesn't move, staring at Night Eye with that same blank expression as his world crashes around him, the voices in his head yelling at the hero even though they can't be heard. Eri is still crying, scared of the tall man with an angry voice. Izuku wants to wrap a hand around the hero's neck, wants to snap it and walk away with a small child on his back. Thankfully, Eraserhead gets here before that. The underground hero has a much more level head, offering to take care of Eri for now while they figure things out. Izuku doesn't move, staring at his homeroom teacher with a critical eye. His homeroom teacher stares back, acting like he's guarding him from Night Eye, even though they both know it's the other way around. Eventually, Izuku steps aside, telling Eri about a kind man, about how he looks scary, but is a good person. Eri is scared but believes Izuku without complaint. Eraserhead introduces himself, tells her about his cats, about his husband. Izuku stands guard at the entrance until Night Eye leaves, Toshinori taking his place with worried hands and a scared expression. The second they make eye contact, his teacher freezes, staring at him with fear in his eyes. It's the first time he's reacted to Izuku's strangeness. It's not fine, everything's not fine. The anger has festered for too long, bubbling just below the surface, heating up until lava pours out. Toshinori doesn't push the issue, doesn't even ask him any questions. That night, Izuku tells Rumi that he's done. She looks at him with understanding in her eyes, and for the first time since they met, they skip training. The next day, he starts planning, listening to the vestiges as they give him ideas. The day after that, he tells Nizu that he will no longer be attending UA. Next, he tells Uraraka, she cries but says she understands. He doesn't think she does. He tells Shoto, the Boy says he'll follow Izuku to the ends of the earth, but Izuku tells him to stay, asks him to share what's happening while he's gone. He tells Ida that he's transferring schools. Ida says they'll all miss him. He wonders if that's true. Day 3, he wakes up at 2 a.m. with tendrils beneath his skin and shadows pulling at his limbs, ignoring the voices in his head as he drags himself away from the black. He's done, the seeds have grown into trees, the doubt rotting under his skin. He's done. The world shouldn't have pushed him this far. He's done. Stain was right. And the knife has tipped. I'm sorry, Mom, you won't be seeing me for a while. I understand. Do what you have to do, my love. Thank you. I love you. I love you too. We won't be able to train for a while. I understand, Bunny, but don't hesitate to ask for help. I will. Good. Don't die. I won't. I can't come back to UA. You can't be my teacher anymore. I understand, problem child. I'll take care of Eri. Thank you, tell her I love her. I will. Izuku has never killed before. Not a human, not an animal, nothing. He's never killed before, but he knows how it works. It's unfortunate that he won the sports festival. That means people know him. It means he'll need to get the public on his side before this is all over, that he'll need to be very aware of what he does and says. And that means he's not allowed to kill on camera. It's a good thing he's not looking for a spotlight quite yet. You tried to have them join you, didn't you? Yes, and they killed Magna. Do you want to get rid of them? God, yes. Good, I have a plan. Izuku has never killed before. That doesn't mean he's not willing to. It takes him approximately 1 hour to realize that getting his hands bloody is an option, and 1 more to realize that there's no other choice. He's fought to the death before, almost killed Muscular with a well-timed black whip. He didn't follow through, though, worried it would make Kota unwilling to work with him. He knows how to kill, knows what it feels like to have someone's skull under your palms, ready to be crushed. He's seen dead bodies, in back alleys and abandoned buildings. This won't be hard, won't be an issue. It's not something a good hero does, kill others. No, a good hero de-escalates the situation and tries their damnedest to keep everyone alive, even the villain. That's why Izuku isn't a good hero. He would have smashed All for One's head to pulp if it meant getting Tamura out of there. He would have snapped Muscular's neck if it meant the villain never killed again. And he would have smiled while doing so. So no, Izuku will never be a good hero, will never be like Mirio or All Might. Even Eraserhead would disapprove of his plan, but his teachers aren't here to tell him that. They aren't here, so there's no one keeping Izuku from crossing the line. The vestiges won't stop him, all from a time long past where ruthlessness was what saved your life. Tamura isn't going to stop him, none of the League is going to stop him, and he knows that the second he walks into their dingy old apartment with a mask on his face and a knife on his hip, everyone in the room freezes, looking at him with their hackles raised. Even Tamura gets into a fighting stance, not expecting him in the slightest. It makes him want to laugh, so he does. He lets out a peal of mirth, a smile on his face even though they can't see it as he holds a hand over his chest. The room stays tense, if not a little confused. They stay that way until he peels off the mask and lowers the hood covering his hair. Tamura relaxes, but everyone else just looks even more confused than before. What are you doing here, hero? Endeavor's son spits out the word hero like it's venom. It makes sense, Endeavor is his dad after all. Izuku wants to tease him, wants to drop his father's name on all their heads like a bomb. Unfortunately, he wants these people to like him, so he just stays quiet and looks at his friend. It's okay guys, he's with me. They JRK when Tamura speaks, looking at him like he's crazy. Is that not a hero student? That's Spinner? Maybe? Why can he remember that name and not Fire Boys? It's complicated. Are you still a hero student? Nope. I dropped out. I am now a bona fide civilian, only for a short time though. Most of them relax, but they still look confused. Short time? What, are you going to a different hero school or something? What was his name? Maybe it's Doobie? Nah Banjo, it's more like Darby, or something. He listens to the voices, but doesn't respond. Nope. I'm becoming a villain. Maybe Dubai? A villain? Oh, goody. I thought you were so pretty with all that blood and now we're on the same side and oh my goodness can I have some of your blood dash? The young girl, Toga if Uraraka told him right, starts bouncing towards him, but a scarred hand stops her from moving closer. He could be lying. What guarantee do we have that you aren't like the other spy the commission sicked on us? Other spy? They have someone spying on them already? Huh, interesting. Oh, I've been friends with Tamura since I was 7. That gets a few raised eyebrows, at both him and their leader. Makes sense, Tamura isn't the type to have friends, after all. Izuku's still surprised that he wasn't pushed away when he talked to 12-year-old Tamura on that playground. Friends? Izuku looks at their leader, smiling slightly as he waits for some sort of defense on his behalf. Eventually, Tamura sighs, rubbing at the back of his neck with thin fingers. Yeah, he's my friend. It's complicated. I trust him, though, and I expect you to treat him with respect. That last bit is said a little firmer than the rest, showcasing how far he's come as a leader. It's almost like a switch flips, all 5 members laying down their proverbial weapons. Izuku wants to smile, so he does, showing off 2 sharp teeth, the dark thing in his chest purring in delight every time he doesn't have to hold himself back from being strange. He remembers the whispers, the classmates calling him strange. These people don't even care when he grins, don't even flinch. If anything, they seem a little less wary, like him being slightly unhinged means he's safe. Makes sense, but it's still interesting. How far will he have to go to make them completely comfortable around him? How dark will he get before he has their trust? Will he get there, or will he be in a strange limbo for the entirety of their relationship? Okay, Zuku, what are you doing here? Right. He didn't tell Tamura about his current actions. All he asked was if he wanted the shy Hasaikai gone. Well, might as well jump right into it. I'm here to take down Overhaul and his lackeys. Everyone except Tamura JRKS in place, staring at him like he's crazy. And what on earth makes you think you can do that, Skinny? Really, Fireboy? I bet my biceps are bigger than your head. Step down from your perch before you talk like that. He gets a scowl in response and a raised eyebrow from Tamura. Do you know our names, Zuku? Ah, he's been found out. Nope. Well, I know Spinner and Toga. I actually met Spinner for a few seconds. Cool swords dude. Though if you're copying Stain, he prefers to master one and use smaller ones as an extra guard. Don't let me tell you what to use though, I only know how to work with a small knife. Spinner looks surprised, though Izuku isn't entirely sure why. He doesn't bother asking though, turning towards Tamura once again, who starts talking. Well, Fireboy hey. Is Dobby. Jumpsuit is twice and mask is Mr. Compress. Nice to meet you. No, it isn't. It's a pleasure to make your acquaintance. Okay, mental issues and ex-magician, got it. It's wonderful to meet you all, I've heard great things, great things. And yes, Toga, you may have some of my blood. The young girl squeals in delight, jumping from foot to foot in excitement. She's cute, it's so unfortunate what happened in her past. I need to talk to Tamura for a hot SEC, if you don't mind me stealing him. Nobody reacts as he grabs his friend by the arm and drags him toward a connecting room. His friend, who looks more than a little nervous after he closes the door. What are you doing here? What do you mean, you dropped out? A villain? You've always wanted to be a hero. Why would you dash? Izuku holds up a hand, stopping Tamura in his tracks. Calm down, I'll tell you everything. And he does. He talks about the questions, the annoyance, the anger. He talks about the doubt, the 7 seeds that have sprouted into trees, about the constant confusion he's felt as he walked through life. He talks about all the times he's held himself back, all the times he's barely kept himself from going too far, and how he's tired of letting monsters walk around, pretending that they're heroes. About the times a hero or policeman looked at him with disdain in their eyes just because of his quirk status or the way he looked. And he doesn't have to think about it before going further. Doesn't have to wonder if he should or should not tell Tamura about all the details he might have left out. He tells him about One for All, about All Might and All for One. He tells him about the dreams, the voices, the people in his head. Izuku watches as Tamura grows more and more distressed with each detail, concerned eyes watching him as he talks. Izuku wraps it up with a story about a little girl, the final seed, the straw that broke the camel's back. Eri is such a sweet girl, so kind and generous, so brave. She's perfect, and he'll do anything to keep her away from Overhaul, no matter what it takes. That's why I'm here. I need your manpower. I told you I have a plan, but that plan involves the League. I need a way in, and you can give it to me. You told me about what happened with Magna. They offered you a way in, I can use that. He stops there, looking at his friend expectantly. Tamura doesn't speak, staring at a spot on the floor with a haunted look on his face, almost like he's remembering something. Izuku doesn't push, a little concerned but fully aware that Tamura just needs space sometimes. It's normal, well, as normal as their relationship could be. I thought you wanted to be a hero. I don't need to be a hero to save people. Tamura JRKS, finally looking him in the eye. Tell him, kid. Shut up, Banjo. You. I guess that's true. But you have to understand, these people I'm with, they've hurt others. They've murdered people. They aren't good people. Well duh, they're a villain group. Izuku nods, still ignoring the voices, I know. I also know that I don't really care about that right now. If they kill good people, I might not be so kind, but until then, I'm fine. A few more beats of silence. I can tell them to follow your lead, but I can't promise they won't resist. You'll have to take it from there, okay? That works for me. Now, come introduce me to them. It takes 10 minutes for Tamura to pass along some basic information, 20 for Izuku to go more in depth, and another 5 for questions. The League leaves the conversation feeling confused, and Izuku leaves the conversation feeling more confident than he has in a while. He has 7 quirks under his veins, but he's never felt more powerful than after commanding the attention of 5 villains who are willing to kill if it suits them. Pretty soon, he'll be in the same boat, but his first task will involve more planning that he can complete in 4 days. You got this, kid. Thank you, Nana. For the next week, Izuku gathers information on the Shai Hasaikai through Toga and Twice, making sure to squeeze out every single gem from this mine while he still has access to it. He also takes time to help organize the League's activities, starting the process of streamlining their group. Overhaul doesn't seem to catch on, apparently too cocky to believe that the League would be willing to do anything but collaborate. It works wonderfully, though Tamura does have to hold him back when he learns that Overhaul is making plans to get Eri back. Just one more day, he says, one more day and we can finish this. It's still hard to calm down, but Tamura is right. One more day, and the plan starts. And here is that plan. Step 1, Shigaraki asks for an audience with Overhaul. Step 2, Twice and Toga tell Overhaul that Shigaraki is considering joining their ranks, but that he has conditions he wants to hash out face to face. It works, and they have a meeting scheduled 2 days after start. Step 3, Dabi and Mr. Compress meet Overhaul's team by the entrance while Shigaraki creates a back door. Tamura is more than a little nervous when he goes back to the meeting point, artist's gloves on his hands as he tries to act like everything is normal. Thankfully, no one questions him, Mimic just grunting before leading them into the compound. Step 4, Izuku cuts their security system. It's fairly easy, thanks to the bug Toga attached to the central console. He does it in a few minutes without tipping off a single person. A grin spreads across his face. Spinner shivering next to him when he gets a glance. Step 5. The League of Villains sits back and watches Izuku work. And watch him work they do. None of them know the complete plan, only Izuku has all the information, so all they can do is try to act casual as individual members start leaving for a reason they don't know. It must be Izuku, because they never come back. It isn't until Chronostasis, Mimic, and Tengai are all gone that Overhaul starts glancing at the door, the leader all that's left in the room other than the League. Tamura is doing a good job acting like a decoy though, even asking why his henchmen are leaving at one point in a passive-aggressive manner that does more to distract than draw attention to the issue. Time passes with no new variables, silence on all fronts as they continue to hash out details. That silence lasts for nearly 30 minutes, when suddenly an alarm starts ringing out. Everyone in the room jumps, not even Tamura and his men expecting the sudden sound. Did Izuku mess up? Is this part of the plan? They get their answer when the door swings open with a bang. There, at the entrance, stands a figure clad in black with a coat covered in death. They all freeze, staring at the new addition, wondering how they got here. Blood drips to the floor, uncovered arms splattered in red, black cloth turning brown, a hand reaching up to peel back their eye mask only to reveal more blood underneath. It takes Tamura a minute to realize that it's Izuku, but not an Izuku he's ever seen before, not the kind child who saved him on that old park bench oh so long ago. No, this Izuku has no warmth in his eyes, no kindness in his frame, only a cold, calculated expression plastered all over his body. He looks like a snake, ready to strike at the first sign of movement. The League is brought back to Earth when Overhaul suddenly stands up, anger in his voice. Who the hell are you? No one answers the question, silence filling the room as the small puddle of red slowly grows. Eventually, Overhaul snaps, rushing towards the figure as he goes to remove his gloves, but he doesn't even get halfway across the room before black tendrils snap forward from nowhere. Overhaul shouts, suddenly hanging in the air, arms spread so he can't touch anything but the inky strands holding him up. They all watch as he desperately tries to use his quirk on the black ink, twisting and turning and trying his best to wiggle out. Nothing works, the ink stays in place, thoroughly incapacitating him in a matter of seconds. For a few minutes, that's all that happens, the sound of Overhaul cursing and grunting as he tries to break free echoing through the room. The attacker doesn't move, staring at his victim with unblinking eyes. Don't just stand there. Do something. The League jolts, suddenly remembering that they were technically just discussing terms of merging their groups. Right, how do they break it to him that they were lying about the whole thing so their hero friend could get rid of the Shai Hasaikai? Oh, you won't get any help from them. What? The League tenses. Overhaul doesn't sound surprised, he sounds angry. You won't get any help from them, never were, never will. Not that they'd be able to do anything, even if they tried. Tell me, Overhaul, did you enjoy making enemies everywhere? Did you enjoy antagonizing people until the only allies you had left were either insane or just too scared to disobey? Overhaul JRKS against his restraints, anger and hate in his voice as he grunts and growls and spits like a rabid animal. How dare you? I built this empire up from nothing. That old man would have run it into the ground at the rate he was going. I saved us. I did. You can keep telling yourself that for the rest of your life for all I care, but even with all your business sense, all your planning, every little thing you did, good or bad, you went too far. That's when the mask comes off, black and brown cloth peeling back to reveal a head of green hair and a face much too young for this. Overhaul's eyes widen, body tensing even further. You're that freak that took her. You piece of shit hero, I swear to God when I get out of dash, the rambling is cut off by another binding, black ink wrapping around Overhaul's mouth. He grunts and screams, but can't speak no matter how hard he tries. I don't give a shit what you think of me, I don't care what you want to do to me. Eri is safe, and you're going to die knowing that everything you ever accomplished is going to be washed down the drain. Your henchmen, your work, your dash, he spits the word out like it's poison, empire. Gone, all of it will be gone, and your little group will be right back where it started with no more monsters to try and change the result. The League watches as the villain's eyes grow more and more terrified, staring at their friend like he's insane. You, Overhaul, were nothing but a blip on the radar, barely noticeable because you left nothing behind to be found. You are going to rot on the ground for the vultures because you don't deserve a grave to rest in. Izuku lifts up a hand and puts on his eye mask. Oh, and by the way, I'm no hero. Everyone but Izuku flinches back when 5 thick tendrils sharpen and spear Overhaul's body like stakes, the sound of somebody choking on blood echoing through the silent room as Izuku just watches. They think it's done, but then the tendrils move, break, tear. Overhaul splits at the seams, blood gushing onto the floor as chunks of flesh drip down the vines. There are more stains on Izuku's clothes, a new line of splattered red on his skin and mask, some even getting into his hair. Tamura and Dabi look at one another, properly terrified into never pissing off their new colleague and feeling more than a little queasy. They can't quite tell what Compress is thinking, but he's most definitely thinking something, if his tense shoulders and clenched fists say anything. Really, this was not at all what they were expecting. Maybe some HNDCFFS, possibly some minor to major injuries, definitely a call to the police after they're a few miles away. Not this. They all jump again when the tendrils retreat, what's left of his body falling to the floor with a splat, mask detached thanks to the tendril that covered his mouth and eyes wide open with terror in his dead gaze. They've all seen death, they're villains, for FS sake, but that was intense even for them. Disintegration involves almost no blood if you do it right, and cremation is much the same, but being skewered by 5 spikes like a stuck pig? That's a whole new level of gruesome. So when Izuku turns and walks out of the room without bothering to even look at them, they all jump for a third time before rushing to follow after him because he did tell them that he'd get them out when everything was done, so this must be that. A few minutes in, their friends, Toga, Twice, and Spinner join them, all 3 much too mellow to have seen nothing, so apparently all the other deaths weren't all that different. They follow him to some stairs and up and out of the building until they're suddenly behind a bunch of buildings, walking towards their most recent hideout. Is that it? Was that all? Are they finished? It feels like breaking the silence would be a bad idea, but dear God, what was that? Where did that come from? This is a hero student. Someone going to a high-profile school so they can save lives. Going on a murder spree isn't something just anyone can do. It can take years to build up a stomach for seeing dead bodies, don't even talk about killing live people. How long has this child wanted to do this? How long has he been willing to kill to get what he wants? Would this have happened to them if Izuku kept on swinging for the good guys? Dabi flinches back every time black tendrils inch out of Izuku's skin, always keeping an eye on the boy just in case. That could have been him, could have been his body strung up by those stupid, inky vines. God, they're never going to get that image out of their heads, are they? Hey Toga, you hungry? Everyone jolts, even Toga, but she does inch forward a little, going further than any of them are willing to try. A little? Izuku nods. Okay, I'll order you some blood. Thanks. You're welcome. Toga does end up getting a decent amount of blood delivered to a random mailbox that they don't know how Izuku acquired, but not before word spreads of what happened to the shy Hasaikai. It goes everywhere, and not just on the news. From heroes to villains, people now know that there's a new boogeyman on the scene. One that's not afraid to send a message. Many theories surface, people wondering who this mystery figure is. A villain? A vigilante? Well, it must be a villain if the rumors of how violent it was are true. Supposedly, the 8 bullets and overhaul's closest men were left with wounds resembling those of thick steaks skewered into their bodies, 5 in every victim. And Overhaul himself was torn apart into chunks of flesh. A gruesome sight that made even the most seasoned police officers lose their lunch when they got to the crime scene. Some people say that it's a lie, made up to scare people into SBMSN. Some say it must be the truth because who would come up with something so ridiculous, who could? Both rumors are dashed when images are leaked of the crime scene, those brave enough to click on them losing their lunch, just like the officers that took the images. From there on, no one questions the rumors, believing that anyone willing and able to do something like that would be fully prepared to complete even the most ridiculous of theories. Someone calls the mystery monster the Shadow of the Underground. The name sticks and spreads like fire. Be careful, or the shadow will catch you. Don't do anything stupid, the shadow might find out. What should we do? You don't want a PSS of them. Izuku doesn't take credit, doesn't even offer the slightest information to those who search for it. Only the League of Villains is aware of who completed the hit. All of them feel a sliver of fear enter their chests whenever they see the weapons that created those disturbing wounds, but the liquid vines don't just come out in fights though, they're everywhere. He uses them for everything, to get items off the tallest shelf, to reach for things on the other side of the room when he's sitting down, to hold things when his hands are full. They're everywhere, and it's terrifying. Something shifts in the heart of the League. Shigaraki is their leader, and Izuku does refer to his orders, but he is the mastermind, the planner, the one that holds the power to decide how they do everything in his hands. Shigaraki chooses which plan to put in place, which route to take, but Izuku tells them which one is better and how to walk it. They used to talk to the doctor or Jiren every time they needed something, now, they just ask Izuku. Food? Izuku. Clothes? Izuku. Armor? Izuku. Weapons? Izuku. Pig's blood for Toga? Izuku. He's a genius, smarter than all of them combined. He has notebooks and papers scattered around his room. Chalkboards and whiteboards and corkboards in every corner of the building, always full of information. He scatters them throughout the walls of their new hideout, codes programs that hide their movements, builds creations none of them understand. They're scared of him at first, but he grows on them like a weed, inserting himself into every corner of their lives. He clocks Dobby's health almost instantly and somehow gets Quirk-assisted medication to help. A burn cream, strong enough to make a little progress on the very first application. An injection that slowly heals him from the inside out. Izuku helps him apply the product, helps him recover in ways Dobby never thought possible. He's forbidden from using his fire for a week and doesn't complain when 2 black tendrils stop him from punching Izuku in the face. Toga suddenly gets enough food to sustain her. Almost everything about her changes, the color of her skin no longer sunken and dull, the scary thinness filling out until she looks almost healthy, her smiles a little less deranged. She still acts like an overactive puppy, still greets people by trying to stab them, but she's softer around the edges, happier. Everyone in the group grows a little fonder of Izuku the better Toga gets, all of them overprotective of the young girl. They knew she needed blood, they just didn't know how much. Mr. Compress doesn't need much help, but Izuku does get him a better arm, one that doesn't pinch at his skin every time he moves. Compress is so grateful that he starts walking around without his mask on again. Izuku doesn't seem at all surprised to see the face of a once well-known magician who went missing a few years ago. That makes them all question just how much the young man knows. Spinner suddenly has a fresh supply of live bugs and insects to consume, his scales growing more vibrant and energy increasing with each quirk-specific meal. Izuku gets new weapons, learns how to use them, and teaches Spinner once he's learned. It's a vicious cycle that helps them both and creates a bond between them that Spinner has never felt before. Camaraderie, a connection you only get by holding swords back to back without fear of betrayal. Twice needs the most help, and Izuku tries to give it where he can. From a better uniform and comfier mask to making sure he eats even on bad days. Little things, because Izuku doesn't really want to hurt the man, which he knows is the only way to snap him out of his fear. He keeps pushing it back, fully aware that it may cause more harm than good if done incorrectly. So, he waits and watches, and keeps on doing little things every day. Twice is kind and funny, and quickly becomes a good friend. All of these things happen at the same time, but Tamura's evolution is the most interesting to watch. They've been friends for years, long enough that they know things about each other that none of the League will understand. That doesn't mean they can't get closer. With all for one out of the way, Izuku does things for Tamura he could never do before. Treatment for the rampant eczema, a cream that soothes his skin almost instantly. A sudden influx of adequate food, sometimes forced down his gullet thanks to years of feeling too unsafe to eat. Dehydration slowly dissipates after weeks of water bottles placed everywhere he relaxes. His antisocial personality slowly shifts as he spends more time with the group because Izuku is there to bridge the gap. 2 months in, and everything has changed. They don't know where Izuku gets the money, and they don't really want to ask, but he takes care of them, and they take care of him in return. They don't look annoyed when he goes on tangents about his passions, don't interrupt him either. They don't comment on his strangeness, don't look at him in fear, or ask questions when he talks to people that aren't there. No one judges him when he laughs dark and low about new ways to do what he wants, no one pushes him to do things he doesn't want to do. They just support him, listen to what he has to say, and eat the food he makes with smiles and thanks. He's found his home, his family. He's found it in the kind eyes of villains who will do anything for those they love. He's found it in the kind hands of murderers who thank him every time he does something for them. He's found it in the warm words said to his face when he does something right, and the kind-hearted teases when he does something wrong. At first, he feels guilty that he finds himself happier than he ever was in the company of those at UA, but that changes over time. Heroes weren't his home, hero society was not his friend. If anything, hero society was his enemy, always pushing him down, always sneering at his accomplishments, calling him strange. He's found his home, and he isn't leaving until the world is a place where he can live with them out in the open. He isn't letting them down, not like everyone else did, not like the world did. He loves his sister, his brothers. He loves them, and he would give them the world if it meant they could live without fear. But the world is not his to give. Yet, he will work until it is. Until he can wrap it up in his hands and hand it to his friends with a smile. He will find a way to love those on both sides, he will find a path that will lead to peace for all people, not just those society deems worthy. So, he plans. He works and strategizes and schemes and works some more. He's busy, making money, writing goals, creating things that assist him. One day, he walks into the common room and says, "Kitchen lights on," and everyone jumps because they just turns on. They ask him how he did that, he says it was simple, they roll their eyes and say, "Ahoo, of course it was for you," and that's that. They don't push him, they just let it go. He works and plans, and one day the league finally asks how he's making money, and he tells them about his job, about how he analyzes quirks and fighting styles and gives advice. How he designs uniforms for both heroes and villains. How he started it when he turned 13 and has been making a steady income ever since. A fat paycheck, because those who can't hire a professional analyzer will pay handsomely for one off the books, even heroes. He's been saving money for 3 years now and has enough to buy anything they need times 7. He could buy them a castle in cash, but their little home will do. Things shift around him, he starts taking power from the doctor, from those who would seek to control the league. He takes a Nomu, trains it to obey his commands, trains it to think, and then takes another. The doctor complains to Shigaraki, who just scoffs and says that Izuku is only doing what's best for them, and that the doctor has no say in these things. He's never seen the man so mad, but Shigaraki is stronger, so the doctor leaves, and Izuku keeps training the Nomu like they're his children. A few weeks later, Izuku ends glaring at a singed Dabi, tapping his foot on the ground as the fire user squirms under his gaze. He ends up really digging in how stupid it was to accept help from the doctor and how it was even worse to face 2 pro heroes like that, even if they were injured. Dabi tries to protest, but doesn't get far before a black tendril is hanging in front of him, threatening to shut him up. Izuku ends up getting an apology and a promise not to do it again. A few days later, a new variable is added. Hawks, now the number 2 hero, the one who Dabi just faced not a week earlier, finally approaching them with an offer Izuku advises them to take. Dabi meets the bird a second time, gives him a task, comes home, and asks Izuku why they're letting a spy into their ranks. Izuku says it's because Hawks will be a valuable asset when he convinces him to switch sides. It's the first time the whole league is skeptical that one of his plans will work, but he seems so confident they just shrug and do as he says. 1 week later, Hawks starts asking questions. 1 month later, Hawks starts looking nervous. 2 weeks after that, Dabi comes home with tense shoulders and angry eyes. They're doing something to him, something bad. I know him, he doesn't act like that, something's wrong, and I don't know what it is. They all wonder what Dabi means when he says he knows him, which is when Izuku speaks up, a Nomu holding a box open next to him as he tinkers with another support device. You only saw the surface when the commission grouped you with him. Dabi goes pale, staring at Izuku with wide eyes. They tortured him, molded him until he fit into their little cookie-cutter rules. They pluck his natural feathers, paint his wings red, drill down his claws until they bleed, and then cover them up with thick gloves and thicker shoes. He can hardly walk without his boots, toes too sore and the missing talons knocking him off his balance. He isn't allowed to buy the right food, forced to eat a meal plan that deprives him of his quirk-based needs. He is punished for missing deadlines or messing up in fights, only healed with a quirk when they go too far. Hawks is an abused child, stuck with no place to go. He's been conditioned to forget your face, that's why he doesn't recognize you. It hurts to hear your name, it physically hurts him to try to remember anything positive in his life. His body is littered with scars from both the commission and battles where he should have moved faster but couldn't because of their sessions. He needs help, and we're going to give it to him. Everyone stares at Izuku in shock, Dabi with a little fear in his eyes because the only way Izuku would know about his connection to Hawks would be to know about his past as a whole. He pushes past the fear, trying to focus on the hero who used to be his friend, promising to ask Izuku about it later. Dabi, you won't be able to turn him, but I will. That's why you're going to do everything I advise. Everything. They all nod, determination in the action, ready to help those who have been failed the same way they were. But Hawks wasn't just failed, he was beaten to a bloody pulp, left to rot, and then beaten again. This is a target, and not the usual kind. That evening, Dabi asks for the location of a RPST so he can cremate someone. Just to burn off a little anger. Izuku gladly gives one up, a schoolteacher who still has his license because he bribed the judge. It's cathartic, seeing the fear in the monster's eyes before he's burned to a crisp faster than he can scream. A fast death, much nicer than he deserved, but helpful for Dabi's nerves, nonetheless. He comes back home with questions that Izuku answers, facing harsh truths about his siblings, about Shoto, about how they were failed just as much as he was. His anger toward his youngest brother is still there, but the flame is slowly losing oxygen. He doesn't know it, but it will be long snuffed out when he finally faces heterochromatic eyes. 1 week later, Hawk shows up with the most fake smile Dabi has ever seen. It hurts, but he doesn't point it out, doesn't let Kigo know that he knows. This is the day after all, this is when things start to move forward. It's time for you to meet the boss, but you have one more task. Hawks perks up, the smile a little truer, a little happier. You need to kill the pro-hero native and bring me the body. The smile freezes, just like the rest of Hawk's body, red wings twitching in place, fear slowly spreading into his expression. Dabi is under no impression that the bird will actually do it, but that RPST, Pefli, hero, deserves to be killed, so he's going to do as Izuku says. You'll kill him and bring him to us 4 hours after his death. Got it. He doesn't wait for a response. Good, I'll text you the day of. They need to give him time to swing it by the commission, after all. Dabi leaves like that, not even looking behind himself. Might as well give the bird time to break down on his own. Poor thing, probably thinking the commission might actually have him do it. Man, it stinks, making him panic like this, but it's fine, everything will be fine in the end. Dinner is nice, and Dabi can't help but wonder what it will be like to eat with familiar wings hovering next to him. 1 week later, he tells Hawks it's time. He gets a text not 5 minutes later, smiley faces and exclamation points galore. It's easier for the bird to text, so this should help. X Tower at 2 a.m., don't be late birdbrain. A thumbs up. Now they wait. Dabi's surprised when Izuku starts following him as he leaves the building. He has a backpack, but everything else is the same gear he was wearing during the Shai Hasaikai raid. He looks a little taller, a little longer, and Dabi almost chuckles when he sees the platform boots. Whatever the kid likes, as long as it doesn't slow him down. It does not, in fact, slow him down. Dabi has to jog to keep up, panting a little by the time they reach the building's roof. Almost 2 am, they're getting there. Izuku doesn't talk, green eyes now red, and green hair covered with a mask and hood. You can't see any defining features, not a single one. No way Hawks will figure out who he is, so he must still want to be incognito. That's fine, Dabi can do all the talking. Hey there, hot stuff. He looks up, smirking at Hawks and the large duffel bag he's carrying. That's one way to transport a body, one way indeed. Bird brain. Let's see what you got us. When Hawks lands, Dabi has to keep himself from grimacing. He looks horrible, like he hasn't slept a wink all week and still overworked himself without fail. That's likely exactly what he did, and it stings to know he's hurting more because of something they did. I got just what you asked for. I'll see about that. They both jump, red wings fluffing out, and a tiny flame rising from Dabi's skin. Guess Izuku is gonna talk after all. What's with that voice mod though? It sound creepy. Hi. Who are you? Dabi decides to let Izuku answer that, fully aware that whatever explanation he would come up with would be stupid. He can't think on the fly, not like their little mastermind. A newer league member. That's all you need to know. Welp, that works. Oh, okay. Hawks looks unsure and a little put off, but there's something else underneath that Dabi can't quite put his finger on. Poor thing, probably worried they're gonna tag team him or something. Now, let me get a good look at your package. Ah, so that's why Izuku's here, to see if the body is fake. And why he told the bird to wait 4 hours. Nowhere near long enough for it to be room temperature, but plenty long enough for the body to be declared dead. Hawks looks like he really doesn't want to show them, which isn't a good sign, but he does put the duffel bag down eventually. Izuku walks up to it calmly, crouching down and unzipping it with care. Dabi has to stop himself from smiling when he sees Native's face. Ah, yes, that disgusting hero. Izuku should have let Stain kill him back then. Though he does understand why the kid wouldn't want to let his friend die like that, so Dabi won't blame him. Neither of them are entirely sure what Izuku is doing, a glove coming off to poke and prod and a few small devices pulled out that also poke and prod. He even shoves a thermometer into an ear, and scrapes off a little skin and puts it in a tube. Wow, he's being really thorough. Isn't it a given that the bird didn't kill Native? Is all this really necessary? Like, DMN, he's being thorough enough to make a police report. Looks good, burn it Dabi. Hawks goes to protest, but the bag is up in flames before he can even speak. Dabi trusts Izuku, which means he doesn't think when given a command. It takes seconds for everything to burn out, nothing left but a pile of ashes on the ground. His arm hurts a little, but he can use his ointment when he gets home. Reminds him of the time Hawks asked about his healing skin. Poor thing was probably so confused. Okay, that's all I need. Come to this address on Friday. Friday? Isn't that game night? 10 p.m. Yeah. That's game night. Got it, Hawks? Yes sir. Haha, sir, that's hilarious. Is there anything else? Talk to Dabi about that. Hey. It was nice to meet you, Hawks. Don't be late, DMN, that's ominous. So is the way he walks away, posture perfect and feet striding strong. He looks dangerous, especially with that DMN voice mod stuck in their heads. Who was that guy? Trying to get more information, huh? This isn't the place for that. He told you. Now, I want you to come to that meeting in civilian clothes, okay? Okay? Friday at 10 p.m. Yup, you can be early if you want to though. Oh, okay. God, he sounds miserable. See you then, Birdbrain. Dabi doesn't wait for a response, turning around and leaving without a second glance. The bird will be fine, and he wants to know if the body was fake. Waiting for Izuku to complete his exam was more than a little awkward, so like hell is he waiting for the results. Thankfully, his friend is still waiting by the base of the building, arms crossed and back leaning against the wall. They start walking together, silent at first until Izuku reaches up and pulls something out of his own coat. A red something. Did he really bug you? Yup, burn it. The bird's feathers are flammable, so it disappears in less than a second, leaving Dabi wondering how many times the bird has bugged him. He's only bugged you twice. God, it's weird how the kid knows what he's thinking. Well, that's not too bad. Probably because of the threats I gave him before breaking them. DMN, that's intense. Haha, oh god, that laugh was creepy. Don't worry, it wasn't that bad. Just enough to get him off your back. Dabi doesn't want to know what it took to get a spy off his back, so he doesn't ask. Sue, was the body fake? Huh? Izuku stays quiet for a second, walking just as fast as he did on the way here. When he finally speaks, it's with his own voice, not whatever modifier was being used. It was real. The commission must have decided that Native was no longer useful, probably because of all the bad press due to the Stain attack. Native is dead, no one will have to run from him again. So, the bird killed someone. A hero at that. The bird killed a hero with his own 2 hands. That's good. That's good, so why does it make Dabi so sad? It's probably nothing, might as well focus on what's next. No need to overthink things. That's what Izuku is for, after all. Hawks has always strived to make the world a better place. That's his goal in life, the thing he wants to do, the legacy he wants to leave behind. He wants to be the person who helped fix things, the person who made Japan a safer country, the person who made a world that doesn't need heroes. Hawks wants that world so bad, he decides it doesn't matter what he goes through if it means getting a little closer to it. The learning, the training, the corrections. He goes through it all and keeps on moving, keeps on ignoring the signs that say he won't see the end, because it doesn't matter as long as the end is there. Hawks has always strived to make the world a better place, but he knows that he won't be here to see it. He knows that the second his handler hands him an order telling him to spy on the League of Villains. Honestly, his death isn't new information. He's always known that he was going to die young, but being handed his death warrant on a silver platter still sends shards of fear into his heart. Is this really it? Is this the end? 21 years old, and he's going to die in a heap of ash or dust with no loved ones to leave behind. The commission gives him 1 day to make peace with his death, though they don't phrase it as such. It's all, "You're going to do amazing, and this information will help so much," but he knows that they have no intention of helping him get out of this alive. Sure, he's a valuable asset, but he's not worth whatever it would take to get him out of this web. It doesn't matter though, he's still going to do it. If this means getting a step closer toward that perfect world, then he's going to do his damnedest to finish the job. Week 1 ends up being much easier than he thought it would be. The league is disorganized, 7 members running around like chickens with their heads chopped off as they try to rebuild their group. He gets a decent amount of info on them all, even on the older girl who dies before the week is even finished. Trans, angry at the world, killed in a scuffle with the Shy Hasaikai. Unfortunate for them, good for Hawks. Week 1 ends up being easy, but then something changes. It's strange, watching them switch from a slobby mess of people to something that resembles a functioning villain group. They start acting more coordinated, start working together. He watches them grow, watches them become smarter, better. It doesn't make sense how 1 second he could track them with his eyes closed, and the next, he's missing entire sections of their activities. They must have a new member, someone guiding them through the hurdles. This couldn't have happened all on its own, but he can't find even any trace of a new member, no matter how hard he looks. Then, the Shy Hasaikai fall, and Hawks is told to focus on that for a few days. He does, he tries his hardest to find this shadow person, and gets nothing. He's never gotten nothing before, he's always found at least something, even if it's small. He finds nothing, and they send him back to the league after a 2-day correction session. It hurts to fly, but it was for his own good, so it's fine. Only, he can't find them. They're not at their old base, not in any of the buildings he found. They're just gone. They must have used the panic surrounding the whole Shy Hasaikai issue to hide. It takes him a whole week to even find proof of their existence, and even then, it's just proof that Dabi was in the area. It takes him another 10 days and a correction session to get a pattern, and it's a loose pattern at that. All he can find is Dabi and some random Nomu, no one else pops up. He occasionally finds a crime scene that resembles a vampire attack or a report that covers a strange knife fight, but no concrete evidence of any other member. And it's strange, the pattern he sees with Dabi feels intentional. There's no proof that it is, but it just feels a little too convenient, a little too uniform when everything else is so irregular. He's convinced that it has something to do with the mystery variable, that anonymous person that he has no proof exists. He follows the pattern for almost 2 months, only taking a break to go to the Hero Billboard chart presentation event. Only, that break ends with him struggling to survive against a Nomu that Fing talks. It's terrifying, and he ends up losing most of his feathers. Which is, of course, when the very person he's been tracking shows up, blue eyes and bluer flames lighting up around him. It's even more terrifying than the Nomu because he's defenseless. Thankfully, Maruko steps in before Fing dies, but he's left feeling wary of tracking the fire user. That, of course, isn't a proper excuse, so the commission sends him right back out not 2 days later. A week after returning to his constant surveillance, he gets orders to approach the league. It's nerve-wracking, making a plan, and even more nerve-wracking to put it in place, especially considering it's so close to that DMN fight. He pushes past the fear and uses his feathers to make contact, planting a paper with a note and his phone number in Dabi's path. It works, he gets a text with a meeting point and time. He isn't entirely sure whether or not showing up is a good idea, but he doesn't have a choice, so he gets there early and waits. Dabi doesn't arrive early, he arrives exactly on time, skin healthier than it should be, and smirk a little too dangerous for Hawk's liking. He smells like faded cigarettes and ranch Doritos, stalking toward Hawks like a predator. He can confidently say that he doesn't like the feeling of being prey, and he's under no impression that he's anything but prey in this situation. If Dabi wanted to, he could scorch his wings in a matter of seconds. Dabi is Hawk's perfect enemy, after all, so it makes sense that he's the one Anonymous put in his path. So, what do you want, little bird? Oh, that's... Nope, focus, ignore. I want to join the league. That was weak, why was that so weak? Pfft, and I'm a pro hero. Okay, that's fair. I'm serious. The commission, they've gone too far, taking children, raising them like soldiers. I can't work for them anymore, I just can't. They work me to death, and I get nothing in return, and they've killed kids that didn't have any other options. They create child soldiers and don't bother taking care of them. And they didn't even let me recover from last week's fight. I'm tired. That might have been too much. Wow. Yeah, definitely too much, where did that even come from? Okay, I guess I'll talk to my boss. And you're gonna stop tailing me while you wait for an answer, got it? Oh, sheet, they knew. No, of course they knew, he knew that already. Yes sir. Dabi quirks an eyebrow at him, but doesn't say anything about the honorific. Okay, see you when I see you, bird brain. And, that's that. Dabi leaves, and Hawks stands there for a minute, wondering why his heart is beating so fast. It must be adrenaline, the fear of being scorched messing with his head. Yeah, that's all it was, nothing more. He keeps repeating that throughout the next few days, waiting for a text, a call, each minute without any new information, just making the anxiety worse. He waits, and waits, and waits, until he's certain a correction session is coming, and then he finally gets an answer. He's in. Holy shit, he's in. How did he do it? He was sure they would deny him. Well, no reason to look a gift horse in the mouth. He takes the offering with a wide smile and open arms, more than a little excited to get started. He feels like a child, like this is his first time doing an undercover mission, even though it's not. He doesn't feel like that for long. The tasks they give him feel like a joke, from small errands to random transportation jobs. He's mostly just used as a fancy postal service. He doesn't ask what's in the boxes and can't find a way to open them, so he doesn't get even a single tiny bit of information. He tries to plant a bug on Dabi, but an invisible hand always finds his feather long before Dabi gets to his hideout, a strange voice whispering threats until he stops bugging Dabi altogether. His handler doesn't like that, only waiting 2 months before putting him through a correction session to try to speed things up. It doesn't work, he can't find a way in, which is why he gets so incredibly excited when Dabi says it's time to meet the boss, only for his hopes to be dashed when he's told to kill another pro hero. God, kill a pro hero? How could they ask him to do that? What will the commission say? Oh no, will they make him do it? Is he going to have to kill a hero? They wouldn't do that, right? The board takes 2 days to come to a conclusion, and his hopes are dashed against a rocky shore when they tell him that Native is expendable and that he can do what is necessary to complete his assignment. He does everything he can to get out of it, tries to think of an angle, but nothing works. He's going to have to kill a hero. God, he's going to have to kill a hero. The day comes, and he throws up in his toilet, struggling to move his wings. It's so hard, getting out of his stupid cookie-cutter apartment, moving towards Native's home. He kills Native without a single sound, staring at the body in horror for almost all 4 hours he needs to wait. There's red on the carpet, a feather coated in blood, sticky liquid dripping down his face. He throws up again in Native's toilet, shoving the body into a duffel bag before flying to the meeting point. It's hard, trying to act normal. Dabi acts like this is just another Tuesday, like death is something to laugh at, but Hawks isn't able to think about that for long. No, now all he can think about is Anonymous because he's standing right there. He's real, and he's right there, modified voice scraping against Hawk's skull like nails on a chalkboard. Something isn't right though, his limbs look too long, his red eyes look off. He just looks strange, but he's right there. He's right there, and he's making sure the body is real with unusual devices and a cold shoulder as the villain makes sure he did the job. Dabi looks unbothered, doesn't step in even once. If anything, he looks entertained. Hawks doesn't get a name, doesn't even get a title, just that deep, creepy voice and a blank expression. He almost vomits again when Dabi scorches the body, the smell of burning flesh lingering despite the fast dispatch. Both of the villains leave, ignoring his distress and burning his feather without care. He almost collapses on the rooftop, tears dripping down his cheeks as he tries to recover from the night. What does he do now? Does he just go home? Ignore everything that's happened, like he didn't just kill a hero? What does he do? In the end, going home wins, body curling up on his bed as he cries. He wants to do his job, wants to take the information about a new member to his handler, but he can't, move. It takes everything in him to calm down, and by then all he can do is pass out until his alarm rings. His handler is happy with his progress, glad to learn about Anonymous. He almost vomits in the headquarters toilet because she's happy for the information he earned by killing a hero. God, he killed a hero, he's no better than the villains. His handler, she doesn't seem to care, smiling and talking about how much further he's going to get now that he has a meeting with the boss. She doesn't even care. Is this normal? Is this really the right thing to do? Somewhere on the other side of the city, Izuku smiles as he watches Hawks slowly grow to doubt the person he was trained to trust. Hawks doesn't know that though, no one notices the extra little line of code in their system that gives him full access to the cameras. No one notices, and it's going to stay that way for as long as he needs that access. That evening, Hawks flies home with blood in his mouth from where his fangs pierced his cheek. He did his hero work, his paperwork, he did everything he needed to do for the day, and now he gets a full 4 hours of uninterrupted sleep. It's all good, but he can't get the image of Native's dead body out of his head no matter how hard he tries. It doesn't make sense, he's seen dead bodies, he's killed before, so why is this so hard? Is it really just because Native was a hero, or is there something else going on? Well, he has no clue, so he just collapses onto his bed once again and sleeps for as long as he's allowed to. It's wash, rinse, repeat for 3 days until Friday finally arrives. This is it, he's actually going to meet their leader, he's actually going to start garnering information that could make a difference. This could take them down, this could eliminate a threat once and for all. He can't decide whether or not killing Native was worth this, but his handler thinks it is, so he'll defer to her judgment no matter how icky it makes him feel. He's allowed to finish work early, a reward that he spends worrying about what to wear. Dabi said casual, but how casual? Like, business casual or walking to the local fried chicken joint at 2 am casual? Something in between eventually wins, casual, but not too casual. He proceeds to realize how stupid it was to worry about what he's wearing as he wraps his wings around his torso and shoves them under his hoodie, walking out the front door with gloved hands in his pockets and his only pair of non-hero boots making his feet hurt like a beach. It's fine, this probably won't be a long visit if their usual interactions are rule. The address leads him to a small apartment complex, probably not their main hideout, then. He climbs up the stairs instead of flying, not wanting to draw attention to himself, still keeping the wings as hidden as possible. The door he's greeted with looks used, the handle shiny in areas a hand would rub, and floor mat dirty in a way you could only achieve by brushing your shoes against it. Is this actually where they usually stay? There are sounds inside, laughing and talking and just the normal things a family would do. What kind of meeting is this? It takes a second to work up the courage, but he eventually knocks, jumping back when the door swings open not a second after his fist makes contact. Thought you were never gonna knock, bird brain. Dabi was waiting for him by the door? He's 15 minutes early. Why is he by the door? Whatever, it's fine, this is fine, he just needs to make a good imper, duck, huh? Ah. What the F dash? Hawks JRKS back when a knife flies just past his head, landing in the wall behind him which contains quite a few stab wounds now that he takes a second look. Oh my god. The birdie. Dabi, you brought the birdie. Where's his wings? This is? Toga? Actually, yeah, where's your wings bird brain? Right, wings. They probably don't love it when people hide their quirks. DMN, so pushy, just, give me a second. Taking off his hoodie is a pain, but he manages to peel it over his head eventually, unraveling his wings and stretching them out in a discreet manner. Dabi looks at him with a strange expression, but doesn't say anything, so Hawks ignores it like everything else. So pretty. Why are you so red though? Aren't you supposed to be a hawk? He freezes, trying to think of an excuse for the false color. Does he lie? Does he tell them about the paint to make them think he hates the commission? Didn't I tell you to not ask questions like that? He jolts, looking at the new figure. It's him. Anonymous. What should he say? It's that same voice mod, what questions? Ah, but they'd look so pretty dash I said no, now go finish your blood, it's dripping all over the card deck. That puts a fire under her sails, eyes going wide as she spins around to go drink, blood. Where did they get the blood? Sheet, is that some dead guy's blood? Sheet, that's just, sheet. No, Hawks, it's not human blood. F dash, did he say that out loud? No, you didn't say anything out loud, you just have a very expressive face. Whoops. Okay, Dabi, introduce him to everyone, will you? This is a really weird meeting. Dabi grumbles, but does guide him further into the small apartment, and it is small, too small for 6, no, 7 members. It's so small, Hawks. Wonders why they even bother renting it. Do they rent it? Or did they just threaten the landlord or something? I own the building. He almost yelps, wings puffing up ever so slightly. Dear heavens, Anonymous is sneaky, and how can he afford to buy an apartment complex? Stop, no time to think about that, he needs to make a good impression on the other members. The other members who are currently in a heated match of cards? Draw 4. Oh come on Spinner. I just got down to 2. SCK it up Toga and draw 4. What kind of game is that? He's only ever heard of poker and solitaire, and this doesn't match either profile in the slightest. He sends a confused look at Dabi, but just gets that funny look again before Dabi's addressing the room. Speaking of the room, where's Shigaraki? Pause the game so I can introduce our newest member. Newest member. He's a member. Everyone looks at him, curiosity in their eyes. Toga just looks excited though. Hawks, meet the league. The lizard is Spinner, hey, I told you to stop calling me that. The guy in the onesie is Twice, masked dude is Compress, you met Toga at the door and of course, just then, a young man in a hoodie with his hair up in a bun walks out of the kitchen with a bag of chips. Shigaraki. Hawks, big boss, Hawks. Shigaraki stops in place, staring at him with piercing red eyes. Is this really him? He looks so comfortable. though that gaze is anything but comfortable, making the base of his wings itch as he struggles to keep eye contact. He doesn't know what to do, too far away to offer a hand and not really wanting to thanks to that disintegration quirk. Only when he does finally look away, the first thing he notices is the artist's gloves covering the man's fingers. That's actually pretty smart. Okay Tamura, stop terrifying the new recruit. It's that DMN voice mod again, his feathers poofing up for what feels like the 100th time but is probably only the second or third. He hears a sigh, looking up again only to be met with a much less intense stare. Welcome to the team Hawks. Serve him some cards compress. What? That's it? They're not going to haze him? Go through an initiation? They're not even going to interrogate him? Oh. Come sit next to me. Toga's overly excited, like he's her friend or something. This is a bad idea, going through team bonding exercises when he's going to stab them in the back down the line, but he doesn't have a choice. So, he sits down. It's weird. They don't make fun of him when he admits that he doesn't know how to play, don't mock him or belittle him. The game is kind of fun when he knows what to do, and the company is kind and happy. It feels wrong, laughing with villains, with murderers. What would his handler think? Well, she would probably just be glad he's making progress. Is this progress, though? What is he learning? That question plays through his mind every time they meet for the next few weeks. They still give him silly jobs, still don't let him anywhere near their base, but they game together and work together and laugh together and he finds himself excited for Friday nights and finds himself waiting for Dobby to text. It's scary, disgusting, he's a horrible person for enjoying himself. He does learn things, though, does observe. He was trained to analyze, so he analyzes, he watches and catalogs and digs deeper every time he has the chance. He wants to learn more about Anonymous, but he accidentally slips up and calls him the stupid nickname he came up with, and then all of them start calling him Anonymous, so he doesn't even get a FING code name. He gets a correction for that. He learns things about everyone in the league except for the one person he knows nothing about. Anonymous is secretive, the only one he can't find even a tiny bit of information on, the only one with no name and no past. He's scary, more so than Shigaraki, and strange. That's the only word he can think of, strange. There's the strange length of his limbs, the strange paleness to his skin. There's the strange look in his eye, the darkness in his gaze, the only visible part of his face. And for some reason, the red irises don't fit, like they're the wrong color. He doesn't know why, it's just strange. More than once, he sees Anonymous working with a Nomu, acting like the monster is his friend. He talks to them, they manage to communicate, it's just as strange as everything else, but the league acts like it's normal. He doesn't know what to do, what to think, so he ignores it and moves on. Despite the setback that is Anonymous, he still learns, still takes statements to his handler. He tries so hard to finish the mission, but it gets harder with each kindness the league shows him. They seem to grow more and more comfortable around him, seem to grow fond of his presence. Toga offers him raw meat, he can't find it in himself to refuse, he gets a correction for that. Dobby starts preening his feathers, warm hands fixing the red painted plumes with care, he gets a correction for that. It starts to hurt, Toga's smiles, twice jokes, Dobby's warm hands, it all shoves the knife deeper into his chest. Even Anonymous grows on him, always there, always watching, always giving him tips. Hawks ignores the strangeness, ignores it when he talks to things that aren't there. It's an unusual relationship, but more hands-on than the non-existent one he has with Shigaraki. It all hurts, each correction, each punishment, each word whispered in his ear telling him the sins of the commission. One day, Hawks wakes up and realizes that he's F-ed. He likes the league. Things start to shift, he stops looking so hard for weaknesses, he stops trying to infiltrate every corner of their life. If anything, he pulls away, suffering the consequences of his inaction while trying his best to act like he's still in the game. It's scary, he's scared. At this rate, the commission is going to kill him long before the league. Things go like this for a month, when suddenly something different happens. He gets a text telling him to meet at a new location. They don't really do new locations, what's so different this time? He arrives in his hero gear, not enough time to switch out, but that's fine. It's a bigger house on the edge of the city, among other larger houses that all look much more run down than this one. Wait, is this their main base? He freezes, staring at the door with a little excitement and a little fear. What does this mean? Do they trust them? That sends more fear through his chest. God, he can't betray them. He can't do that. No, it doesn't matter right now, he just has to go with the flow. He can do this. There's a doorbell, so he rings it, waiting for a few seconds before the sound of footsteps reaches the entrance. Dobby looks tense, not a good sign. He still steps in, trusting them despite the logic that says he shouldn't. They walk past a dining room, then something that looks like a library, eventually landing in the living room. It's a bigger living room, and Hawks almost jumps out of his skin when he sees a Nomo standing next to the couch. After a few seconds of staring, he continues to follow Dabi until they're standing in front of a closed door labeled Izuku. Izuku? Why does that sound familiar? Dabi knocks, and then they wait. They wait and wait until the door opens. Only, there's no one there to greet them. Dabi motions for him to step inside. He does. He's a little confused at first, but then something snaps around him, thick ropes holding him in place right before a rag is shoved against his mouth. He does all he can think to do, scream and struggle and stare at Dabi, who is suddenly in front of him, sad eyes watching him as he panics. No. No, no, no. They figured it out, they found out he's a spy. No, 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 no. No. It can't end this way. No, 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 it's okay, you're okay. Don't fight it, you'll be okay, no one's going to hurt you, it's okay. Dabi stands in front of the scene, watching as Izuku tries to calm a panicked Hawks while actively drugging him. It's painful to watch, the way Hawks thrashes against his bonds, feet no longer touching the ground, wings bound, obviously not hearing the words Izuku whispers into his ear. He looks terrified, and he must be if he's not using his feathers. Dabi can confidently say that he hates seeing Hawks be so afraid. The drag works quickly, the thrashing slowing, the desperate look in his eyes quickly replaced by closed eyelids. God, he never wants to see that look again. He also knows that he likely will with the plan Izuku laid out for them. This isn't going to be fun, for any of them. He can't get that silent plea out of his head as he gently carries Hawks toward the bed, clipping his wrists to the sidebars with quirk-canceling cuffs. Sure, they can't take his wings away, but they can keep him from controlling them. It will have to do for now if they don't want to pluck his feathers and burn them. God, this SCKS. Izuku has him leave when Hawks is properly restrained, their little genius getting to work on whatever he needs to do for this to succeed. So, Dabi leaves. He leaves, and he hopes they're doing the right thing. God, does he hope. Hawks wakes up confused. He wakes up confused and hazy and tired and overall just not feeling very well. A throbbing pain sits at the back of his neck, his wings lying heavy against his back, and his wrists unusually sore. His whole body complains as he shifts in place, joints protesting the treatment. In an attempt to alleviate the headache, he reaches up to rub at his eyes, but something stops him from raising his hands, holding them in place. His wrists are bound. That's when the panic starts, the fear pushing away what's left of the exhaustion. He looks up at the room, the mostly dark room that has no defining features. No posters, no furniture, no windows, just the bed and a door. He tries to use a feather to get rid of the cuffs, but none of them respond. The panic only grows as he jolts into a sitting position, frantically pulling against the bonds. When nothing works, he starts to curl into himself, but he can't wrap his hands around his chest, so that just makes things worse. That's when the door opens. He jolts, looking up as a sliver of light enters the room, then wincing when a hand turns on the ceiling lights, burning his retinas as he struggles to breathe. Someone walks in, but he can't tell who, trying to remember what happened before he fell asleep. Wait, the League. He was meeting the League, and Dabi brought him to, Oh God, they found out, oh God. No, 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 he needs to explain it to them, needs to tell them. Tell them what? That he isn't a spy? He is a spy, he is a hero. He was going to betray them. Hawks, need you, copy, breathing, you're, pass out. Hawks dash, someone is speaking, but he can't really make out the words, their voice fuzzy, shoved into the background. It's not Dabi, or Compress, it's not a voice he recognizes, but he can't think. His chest burns, his wings ache. What can he do? Is this where he dies? Suddenly, there are warm hands on his face, a body sitting next to him on the bed. Breathe, little bird, breathe for me. Dabi's here, and he doesn't sound angry. Hawks latches onto the sound, to the low, gravelly voice, a voice he's come to love. He latches onto it and tries his hardest to do as it says. That's it, there you go, we're not going to hurt you, you're safe. He's safe? They're not going to hurt him? But, I'm a spy? He finally manages to look up, staring into blue eyes, wondering why they look so sad. I know, we've always known. What? Then why? Deep breaths, stay with me. I promise, we're not mad, we just want to talk to you. Talk. He can talk, that's something he can do. Yes, they can talk, and he can convince them to kill him quickly, and everything will be fine. Do you want Dabi to stay? Hawk startles, looking up at the new voice. He startles again when he's met with the image of someone he's never seen before. Tall, lean, green, strange. He pauses, why strange? Why did he think the word strange? That's not really a word he uses. Why is he thinking about the words he uses? Why does this new person look familiar? Wait. The sports festival. The winner. Green hair, green eyes, tired expression, freckles. Holy shit, this is Midoriya Izuku. This is the kid who dropped out of UA for an unknown reason a month after completing the provisional licensing exam with one of the highest scores the commission has ever seen. This is where he's been? With the League of Villains? Hiding from view? Who even is he in the league? Wait, Anonymous. I see you recognize me. Hello Hawks, I'm Anonymous. Or should I say, Izuku Midoriya. Hawks watches as Midoriya bows with a flourish, Dabi chuckling lightly until green eyes glare in his direction. He understands why, that glare is actually fairly terrifying. Why are his eyes glowing like that? What's with the darkness in his gaze? He just seems strange. So, do you want Dabi to stay? Right, Dabi, talking, convincing them to kill him fast. Does Midoriya even kill? He used to be a hero student, why is he with the League? What happened during his internship with Night Eye? Stop, focus, Dabi, Midoriya. I'm fine. You don't need to dash, something covers his hand, Dabi, blue eyes, warm. He didn't ask if you need me to stay, he asked if you want me to stay. This is weird. This isn't how interrogations are supposed to go, not in the slightest. How does he respond to that? What does he want? He's not really allowed to want things, not really allowed to ask for things. The League asks him if he wants things though, they do that a lot. But does he really want Dabi to see him sobbing like a child? Not really. Dabi's nice, even if he's going to be the one killing him. Might as well spare himself the embarrassment. I'm good. You can leave. He gets a concerned look at that. It doesn't make sense, why are they concerned? Yeah, they always knew, but that doesn't mean they shouldn't be angry. His handler is always angry, even when she knows he's going to mess up. What's so different about them? They're supposed to be villains. They're supposed to be worse. Okay. I'll leave. Call me in if he freaks out again, Zuku. Zuku, why are they so nice to each other? I will. The door clicks closed behind Dabi, leaving him in an empty room with a kid who's supposed to be a hero student. Hero students, always so naive and bright-eyed. Midoriya is none of those. He looks tired, but also wide awake. He looks comfortable in his own skin, not awkward like most first years. He looks like he knows exactly what he's doing, and even Hawks doesn't feel that way very often. He looks strange, and something in the back of Hawk's mind is screaming at him to get away, that Midoriya is dangerous. Why? Wouldn't he be the least dangerous of them all? He only has a strength enhancement quirk. A powerful one, but still just strength enhancement. That green lighting does look kind of scary, but it's nothing like disintegration or cremation. I know you have a lot of questions, so I'll start with the basics. Basics. Okay, he needs to listen closely if he wants to get through this. You won't believe me if I say that you're safe here, so I'm just going to skip that. I promise that no one will lay hand or quirk on you for the next week, understood? That's an interesting start. A week, he has a week to prepare for whatever is coming. That's plenty of time, more than enough, actually. Okay, can I ask what you want from me? Is he allowed to do that? Ask questions? Yes, you can. We want you to join the League, permanently. We want you to leave the commission and work with us to complete our goal. Really? But, they know he's a spy? Why would they want him to join? And you would, trust me to do that? Midoriya's gaze sharpens, a shiver going down Hawk's spine. Trust me. I'll know if you're telling the truth. Right, this is Anonymous. This is their planner, their brain, of course he has a way to tell if Hawks is actually on their side. He's probably the reason they knew he was a spy in the first place. Hawks needs to remember that this is the person who made the League almost invisible, and he's obviously not being coerced if the way he carries himself is any indication. Now, as I said, I'm going to start with the basics. Kigo, please tell me the reason you stay with the commission. The reason he stays with the commission, huh? Wait, did you just call me Kigo? Yes, I did, Kigo Takami. Now, think about my question. Holy shit, how much does he know? How did he learn that name? Even his handler doesn't know that name. Stop, the question, he's probably just trying to prove how powerful he is, focus. Well, they're the only way I can complete dash. I'm not asking for the excuse you use to avoid thinking about it, I'm asking you to really think about why you wouldn't join the League. Sheet, he really knows everything. Hawks hasn't told anyone about his doubts, though, hasn't even said them out loud. This is definitely Anonymous, only Anonymous could discern all of this on his own. But seriously, why is he with the commission? Each League member has their own goal, and Shigaraki is fairly vocal about how he wants to make their goals a reality. If Hawks joined, they would probably work twice as hard as the Commission to help him reach his goal, though they would use not-so-legal means to do so. Is that why? Because of their illegal activities? No. The Commission does most of its dealings in back allies and through illegal deals. Nagant wasn't locked up legally, and Project Callus definitely wasn't legal. Is it because they kill people? No, the Commission has had him kill people. They had him kill native for heaven's sake. God, Anonymous would decimate any of the issues he might bring up. Why is he with the Commission? Why hasn't he left? These months spent with the League have been chipping away at his resolve, pulling him away from everything he's ever known. Can he even think of a single solid reason to stay with the Commission that Anonymous wouldn't see through? Can he? I'm not sure. Is that a good enough reason? Is he going to get a correction for not coming up with an acceptable answer? The League has only handed him tasks he can complete so far. He hasn't dealt with the consequences of letting them down yet. Is that it? Is he scared that their correction sessions will be worse? Dobby's flames would hurt a lot, and getting his skin disintegrated doesn't sound fun. Is that it? No, the Commission has some very creative ways to correct him, and the League probably doesn't have the tools to go that far. This is a lot. Hawks looks at the cuffs around his wrists, struggling to think of a single reason he shouldn't join the League. Why is this so hard? The League is a villain group. It should be easy. Is the Commission really worse than a villain group? Kigo, would you believe me if I told you that I know the reason? He freezes, head snapping back up. There's something new in Midoriya's eye, something he can't read. He doesn't like not being able to read people's expressions, he really doesn't like that. I don't know. I'd be interested in hearing your theory, though. Be truthful, don't lie, that could lead to a correction. Why is he worried about corrections? He should be worried that they're going to torture him. April 13th, 20XX. Hawks flinches back, a visceral reaction to a date that he doesn't even remember. What does that mean? Why does he hate a date with no marker? What happened then? Anonymous smiles a small smile before it's wiped off with the same DMN look. That is the date the Commission started conditioning you to have a strong negative reaction to several phrases, situations, and general thoughts. I won't tell you everything they included because it could physically hurt you, and I'm not interested in doing that. I will tell you that one of the things they made sure you would never want to do is betray them. There's a long list, and I have it all. Sheet, that sounds like something they would do. Can you tell me one thing? Just to prove it? There's a momentary look of conflict on Midoriya's face before he nods. Tuya Todoroki. Hawks curses, curling in on himself when he can't lift his hands to his head, pain shooting through his system as images of a young boy threaten to push through the surface. It takes a minute, but the pain passes, the image is long gone, with no memories left behind. Well, Sheet, Anonymous was telling the truth. The Commission, they did more than just train him. They conditioned him. Sheet, that's a little far. As far as he can tell, even the League hasn't done anything like that. That BSTRD all for one, maybe, but not this little group of people, not them. How many things? A look of confusion. How many things are on that list? Oh, 74. Holy Sheet, that's a lot. Why are you telling me this? Because I know how to get rid of the conditioning. Hawks freezes again. God, his muscles are going to get tired of this. Get rid of it? That's a thing that can be done? How? There's a beat of silence, drawing Kigo's eyes away from the cuffs. Anonymous looks annoyed, like he doesn't like the solution. There's a man, he has extensive training when it comes to mental manipulation. He owes me a favor, and I can cash it in to get rid of the triggers and walls in your mind. I will say, I'm not a fan of how he got his expertise, but he is effective. I can keep him from doing anything negative to you, and you will come out on the other end feeling better. Is he talking about the cryptic doctor who created the Nomo? Shigaraki has only mentioned him in passing, but it wasn't anything good. Is there any other option? You could always just live with them. I don't know of a non-harmful way to remove the conditioning, considering the quirk factor, not without mental manipulation. Not a very nice set of options? I'll give you time to think about it. I know that you are aware that we're the better option. I know you don't approve of the Commission. I know you hated it when they threatened your intern, DMN, he really knows everything. I'll be surprised if you turn me down, but I'm giving you time. You have 3 days to decide if you want the doctor to help. You have a week to decide if you want to join us. So that's why he said a week. If you promise not to attempt to escape, then you can have free range of the house. I'll give you 1 day to think about it. Kigo, there are many things that I want to teach you. I hope you will give me the chance. Wow, that was intense. Hawks watches Anonymous leave, frozen in place as his mind wanders. Is that it? Is there really no reason to turn down his offer? No, he needs to think about this. He can't just jump on the first chance to get out of the commission, he needs to think. Is there ways to negotiate? Maybe to make sure correction sessions aren't as bad as they could be? Hawk spends the next hour thinking, going through options, making lists in his head. He does that until Toga brings him food, all smiles and excited babbling about how fun it will be to finally have him in the group when he makes his decision. Are they all that confident that Anonymous will succeed? That night, he sleeps with the cuffs on, still thinking. The next morning, he's in the kitchen watching Anonymous make breakfast. It's a strange image, only made stranger now that he can see all of his features. No gloves to hide the sharp nails, no contacts to hide the green glow of his eyes, no long sleeves to hide the paleness of his skin, no mask to hide the way he moves like he isn't quite human. He's strange, and Hawks can't figure out why that word is the one that keeps cropping up. Over the next 2 days, he eats what Izuku says is proper raptor food. Raw meat, sushi, bugs, all things he was trained to think were disgusting, but end up tasting better than anything he's ever eaten before. On the 3rd day, he tells Midoriya to call the doctor. Everyone looks annoyed, like the doctor is just some creepy uncle they never want to see, but they don't complain. 2 days. It takes the doctor 2 days to get rid of the conditioning. Kigo ends up crying into Dabi's shirt after realizing that the fire user is the only friend he ever had growing up. He cries even more after learning all the things Endeavor did, his already almost non-existent faith in the system shattering. Toga hands him a live bird, for comfort, he thought. He holds it up to his face and talks at it, little chirps and chirrups escaping his lips now that he's allowed to do that. He ends up freaking out and crying even more when Toga kills hers and drinks its blood. She's very remorseful after Midoriya gives her a good talking to. Kigo tries to defend her, scared of what a correction will do to such a young girl. All corrections are verbal reprimands, and occasionally people get things they like taken away. That's it? Nothing else? No physical pain, no conditioning, just a verbal reprimand? Midoriya just confirms and repeats until Kigo is left sitting there with the words, verbal reprimand, ringing through his head. No more corrections, no more pain, nothing. And they don't get corrections for messing up during missions or for not doing as they're told. They're actually encouraged to disobey when they don't want to do something. Holy cow. Is this supposed to be normal? According to Midoriya, it is. Apparently even normal heroes never deal with corrections. That news leaves him reeling, that night spent wondering if his whole life was a lie. Everything, all the things he knew, they were all lies. Tomorrow marks 1 week. He knows his decision. I'm joining you. Izuku smiles, teeth sharp where they should be smooth. I'm glad. Are you ready for your first mission? Yes, sir. Good. Toga will be your partner. His first mission is one of the most complicated things he's done in his life. Suddenly, he realizes how the League was able to disappear like they did. Izuku covers everything. He tells them how to move, how to walk, how to dress. Everything. Kigo has never felt so prepared, never felt so confident about a mission. Monday morning, he wakes up with a smile, looking at the warm-toned wood stain on the new desk Izuku bought him. It's his desk, not the commission's. There are already a few things on it, a notebook, a pencil, some lotion he said he liked. It's his, Izuku gave it to him. He has more stuff on the way. Toga is waiting for him by his door, smiling that same old wide smile, jumping up and down with excitement. I'll see you this afternoon? Yeah? Yeah? He smiles back, only growing more attached the longer he lives around her. Yeah, I'll see you. Sweet. Toga. It's time. That's my cue. I'll see you later. She leaves with a smile, her uniform better than some hero ones he's seen. Izuku must have made all of their uniforms. Will he get a new one? That would be nice. He eats breakfast slowly, just happy to be around people who care for him. Spinner talks about swords, Compress listens, Kigo eavesdrops. They're fine with it. Izuku approaches him when it's time for him to go, going through the plan once again. It only makes him feel more confident. Here is that plan. Step 1, Toga and Dabi kidnap the guard in charge of admitting people into the file room. This is finished early in the morning, before the girls' shift starts, giving Toga just enough time to learn her mannerisms and switch with the current guard. Step 2, Izuku does something to the system, and no one else, not even Toga or Kigo, knows how or what he does. They just know that they're free to act casual and that Kigo shouldn't trigger any alarms, even though he's been missing. Step 2, Kigo checks in during lunch, right before the guard is due to go on break. He swipes his card without problem, saying hi to everyone he passes with a smile. It works, no one even blinks. Step 3, Kigo gets into the file room because the guard, also known as Toga, types in an override that will alert the higher-ups in exactly 10 minutes. Step 4, Kigo steals all the files on Izuku's list, each one numbered meticulously. He does this while wondering how Izuku knows which one he needs. The fillers in his bag are placed in the room, replaced by the files until he has all the ones he needs. He grabs the cover file Izuku chose and shows it to the guard on his way out. She approves, and he leaves. 5 minutes left. Step 5, Toga goes on break, switching places at exactly 12:05. Kigo is long gone by then, having flown out a window not 2 minutes before. 3 minutes left. Step 6, Dabi picks up Toga and drives her away from the commission headquarters. 2 minutes left. Step 7, they rendezvous, ditch the vehicle, and make their way back to their hideout using a route Izuku gave them. Time up. The 3 floor agents aren't there to see it, but Izuku watches as the chaos unfolds. It starts with the higher-ups trying to contact the guard, who answers, very confused because he should have been relieved 5 minutes ago. Then it builds up, spreading all over the headquarters until the head commissioner is standing in the file room, yelling at a confused guard. Izuku chuckles, holding the files Kigo managed to grab. Phase 1 complete. Time for Phase 2. Izuku is sorting through the commission's files when Tamura gets the call. Everyone in the living room turns to stare at him, recognizing the ringtone as the doctor's. Only Kigo looks confused, watching as they all wait with bated breath for something he knows nothing about. Toga leans toward the bird when Tamura answers, whispering in his ear just who is calling them. Kigo understands after that, tensing a little himself. He's only met the doctor twice, and the man still managed to leave an unpleasant taste in his mouth. Izuku keeps on working through it all, ignoring the words coming out of Tamura's mouth. Everyone else listens closely, watching as he confirms and denies, and eventually asks a question. Why should I bother? He looks conflicted, like he isn't sure what to do. I already have the high-end Nomu and, well, plenty of firepower. After a few seconds, he sighs at something the doctor says, shoulders slumping ever so slightly. I'll think about it. Don't get your hopes up. Tamura hangs up the phone with a huff, turning towards Izuku with his mouth open as though he's about to talk, but unable to get a word out before Izuku is already saying something. Gigantomachia would be a valuable asset. He is strong, but it won't be easy to get him to follow your commands. The doctor probably wants to prove that you need him, you really don't, though. Still, it won't hurt to try if you want to deal with all the extra work it would take. The room goes silent as Tamura stares at Izuku with a fed-up expression. Everyone else looks at them in confusion, wondering who Gigantomachia is and why he would be useful when they already have Izuku. Is it dangerous? Ah, yes, the real question. It is, but I think you can handle it without serious injury. As long as you prepare well, of course. Tamura thinks for a few seconds before sighing again and explaining the deal to the rest of the league. They all take it in stride, a little annoyed that they might need to do something so annoying just to get some extra manpower, but aware that they will need all the help they can get. Kigo, you should probably stay behind. You're still recovering, and Izuku might need help with things. A few people look at Kigo in concern, but he just shrugs before responding. Makes sense, as long as I can finally get some new clothes, haha. Izuku rolls his eyes. Yeah, I already told you that your stuff is on the way. The league spends the next few hours following Izuku's suggestions on what to do to get ready, packing bags and weapons as they organize for a long fight. The doctor didn't say anything about a fight, but Izuku seems convinced that they'll need to earn the giant's respect if they want him on their side and that the only thing Gigantomachia respects is strength. They, of course, will always take Izuku's judgment over that of a man unwilling to help them when they needed it most. That evening, Izuku sends them on their way with plenty of food, medical supplies, and all the little things they might need. Kigo seems a little reluctant to be left behind, but feels a little better when Dabi huffs and gives him a warm hug before ruffling his hair and waving goodbye. Izuku smiles, glad that his family is growing. Over the next few hours, Izuku keeps Kigo busy with different tasks, from cleaning to helping him organize. Near the end of the day, Kigo preens his feathers a little, the red dye slowly making way for a more natural color. The wings of a peregrine falcon, Izuku told him. Brown and white on the back, white with black flecks and a reddish tint on the front. There's still some leftover red that needs to fall out, but it's getting there, and Kigo has never been happier. Izuku ends up advising he go to bed at a decent time, making sure to keep him on the new sleep schedule they decided on. Years of sleep deprivation mean Kigo goes for the bottle of melatonin before making his way to his room, curling up in the round nest bed before passing out in a few minutes. In the living room, Izuku continues to work, Black Whip sorting through papers while the two Nomu he works with sit next to him, resting. One of them curls up next to him on the couch, a smaller one named Kage, about the size of a teenager with long limbs and sharp claws. For some reason, they remind Izuku of himself, though a little more monstrous with their shadowy black skin and extensive teeth. The other one, Dai, is larger, with a beak and exposed brain, similar to the one at USJ, if not a little slimmer. It sits on the floor in front of the couch, leaning back with its arms wrapped around its legs. They're both sleeping, acting more human every day as Izuku slowly heals their brains with quirk-assisted technology. They'll never get back to their original selves, but he can make them more comfortable. He knows how the doctor made them, and even though he wishes he didn't, it does help with the process of figuring out how to heal them. Most of his attention is being taken up by the papers in front of him, but he eventually calls it quits. This is going to take weeks, hopefully no more than a month, but either way, he has plenty of time to finish. He pulls himself toward his room, both Nomu waking up and following him with sleepy eyes and dragging limbs. His room is bigger than all the others, the master bedroom, full of tools and materials, with a small bed shoved into the corner. Both Nomu walk towards the bed, Kage curling up at the bottom and Dai retaking his position, leaning against the edge. Izuku smiles, laying down with a huff before telling the lights to turn off and settling into the pillows. It's nice, his little family. It's also nice to wake up with the smell of cooking coming from the kitchen and the excited movements of one of his little friends. It's Kage, always acting like a hyper cat instead of something that used to be human, jumping up and down on the bed until both he and the Dai are awake. Dai glares at the excited little shadow, annoyed that he was woken so early. Okay, time to get food. That gives Dai enough of an incentive to get up, sending critical glances at the still excited Kage. Kage, who is already by the exit, long, clawed fingers struggling to open the door knob properly. Hey, at least they're taking initiative. Man, that Nomu shouldn't be that cute. Only you would think a Nomu is cute, Shimura. Shut up, Bruce. Izuku opens the door and makes his way towards the kitchen, Dai staying behind him while Kage tries to get him to go faster by pulling at his shirt. Of course, it doesn't work, but it's what happens every morning, so no reason to change it now. Kigo stands in the kitchen, struggling to make a pair of fried eggs with toast already popped in the toaster. Poor bird, Izuku really needs to teach him how to cook. Did you make one for me? Kigo must have been very absorbed in his task because he startles when Izuku speaks, wings fluffing up in surprise as he spins around with a spatula in his hand. Oh, you're awake. Oh, sheet, did I wake you up? I'm Sordash. No, Kage did that. They want food, and 7 is plenty late enough to wake up. Izuku walks towards the fridge, pulling out some meals he prepped for the Nomu. Simple, something that doesn't overwhelm them. Kage? The little shadow looks at Kigo when they hear their name, head tilting to the side and looking at Izuku when they realize Kigo isn't talking to them. The little shadow, their name is Kage. And the big one? Dai. Say hi guys. Both Nomu wave at Kigo, earning a nervous smile. Ah, he must still be a little wary around Nomu. Makes sense, considering his fight with the high end. Thankfully, Kigo doesn't voice his concerns, all 4 of them eating in peace. Both Nomu still struggle with forks, but they're able to drink soup from a bowl just fine, so he doesn't need to help them at all. The second they're done, Kage jumps toward them, poking at Kigo's wings and circling the table until Izuku gets up and walks toward the basement. Kigo, who was visibly uncomfortable with the treatment, decides to follow them for some reason. Probably curiosity. Izuku leads them all down to the gym, Kage jumping up and down next to him as Dai reluctantly follows behind them all. Kigo seems even more nervous now that he's between 2 Nomu, but doesn't back down despite the twitching of his wings and the tapping of his talons. The gym is large, spanning the whole size of the house, with 3 supports and a dividing wall. One side is full of gym equipment, and the other has punching bags and gym mats. Kage runs for the gym mats, still jumping up and down until Izuku walks over. Dai sits down in the corner, curling up against the wall as Kigo watches everything unfold. The first hit is strong enough to make the punching bags shake, even though neither Izuku nor Kage is anywhere near them. Kigo watches in awe as Anonymous and the Nomu spar it out like training buddies, having to actually pay attention to how he's standing for fear of being knocked over by a gust of wind. He's never seen Izuku fight, so watching him spar like this. The lightning covering his skin, the glowing of his eyes. Izuku is powerful, and he's barely even trying, dodging before Kage even moves like he knows what his opponent is thinking. The shadow is keeping up, but only just, rushing to meet blows and guarding against attacks at an impressive speed. This must be how they get his energy out, and it suddenly makes sense why Izuku comes down here every morning. Boy does that Nomu have a lot of energy. The spar lasts a while, almost 40 minutes passing before they stop, the little shadow panting with a long, black tongue hanging out of its mouth like a dog. It looks a lot less cute like this, teeth on display, claws longer than they used to be, shoulders hunched, eyes wide. Kigo still feels a sliver of discomfort, but both Nomu have been benevolent so far, so he shouldn't have anything to worry about. Izuku glances at their newest member, noting his continued wariness. Kage is calmer, tired out. They probably won't need another spar for a few hours, so he should be good to go back to his planning. I'm going to get to work. Do you still have the notes I gave you yesterday? Kigo nods, pulling out a piece of paper and unfolding it. Good, that will tell you how to get the supplies we need, and in what order. The order is important. Toga's blood needs to be last. Got it. Got it, I'll go get ready. Kigo is the one in front of everyone this time, jogging up the stairs and toward his room while Izuku and his friends walk toward the living room. The stuff he needs to work on is already laid out, ready for him to get started. That bird is much too energetic. Maybe you're just not energetic enough, N. He's already fully absorbed in his work when Kigo walks out of his room, fully dressed in the disguise Izuku gave him. Kigo says goodbye, but only gets a wave in response, though Kage also waves, and with a lot more enthusiasm. He smiles a tense smile, but does hesitantly wave back. That gets an even wider smile, stark white teeth standing out among the black. He walks out at 8:30, leaving Izuku to work the day away without interruption. Dai keeps Kage occupied, even sparring together while Izuku works in the corner of the gym. He's mostly on his laptop, but spends a decent amount of time sorting through physical papers. By 4 p.m., he's barely made a dent, hours of work amounting to only a few percentage points of progress. Kigo comes home at about 5, carrying in everything from their car for a few minutes until it's all put away. Izuku doesn't move, only waving silently in greeting before going back to typing faster than Kigo can track. Is he using his quirk? How is he so fast? Izuku only stops when dinner approaches, going into the kitchen to cook up a few days' food and serving them all their meals before scoffing down his portion and going back to his work, leaving Kigo to clean the kitchen. You need to eat slower 9. Let the kid live Yoichi. That's exactly what I'm trying to do, keep him alive. Just like the night before, Kigo goes to bed early, and Izuku crawls into his room late in the evening with 2 sleepy Nomu following close behind. The next day passes much the same, Izuku working and Kigo doing whatever tasks Izuku puts out for him. That repeats the next day, and the next, and the next, and the next until it's been almost 2 weeks of moving together like a well-oiled machine. Izuku gives Kigo more than just errands, sending him on missions now and then. Over time, Kigo gets used to the Nomu, even sparring with Kage a few times. The first time is very revealing because he actually has to try to keep up with the small creature. If this is how hard it is against Kage, how hard would it be to spar with Izuku, who barely has to try when fighting the shadow? Kigo quickly learned how strong the boy was, but dear heavens, Izuku is a monster. They're still in contact with the rest of the league, getting updates from almost everyone but Tamura. Izuku talks to his old friend sometimes, but that's about all they get from him. It's mostly Twice and Toga ranting about how creepy the doctor is and how they wish they didn't have to deal with this. Toga complains about how filthy it is on multiple occasions, talking about how she needs to get her nails done when she gets back. Dabi calls Kigo a few times, asking him how he's doing, how he's recuperating. It's nice and always leaves him with his heart rate elevated and stomach fluttering. It's a strange feeling, one he's unfamiliar with. Izuku always sends him a look he doesn't understand after those talks, and he hears Kage laugh for the first time when Izuku gives him that look once again. It's not a pretty laugh, sounding more like a hyena than a human. Week 3 starts without issue, though Kigo is starting to get a little antsy. There's no lack of things to do, but being cooped up in one prefecture when he's used to flying all over the country is kind of stifling. Of course, Izuku notices, sending him on a longer mission outside of Tokyo. He ends up flying high in the air for the first time since his defection, smiling and giggling every time his talons help him land or take off, or just walk. It leaves him wondering how the public responded to his betrayal. He gets his answer a few days later by surfing the internet on his new laptop. It's a little confusing, seeing hundreds of articles about how the commission messed up and lost Hawks as a hero because of their illegal activities. Is this what Izuku's been working on? Kigo thought he was just organizing information or something, not actively swaying public opinion. But that must be the case, because it's obvious that the commission has been trying to pin it on him being a traitor, but it just hasn't been working. It's incredible, reading pages on 1,000,001 news outlets that are just shitting on the commission like it isn't the most powerful branch of the Japanese government. And then there's a whole other section. Heroes. Pro-heroes making public statements. Eraserhead, Midnight, Present Mike, Mirko, Best Jeanist, Gang Orca. All the statements support the idea of someone opening an investigation into the commission's internal affairs. Kigo spends almost an hour trying to figure out the connection between them, and ends up realizing that they're almost all heroes who are in good standing with the principal of UA. Is Izuku friends with Nizu? Is that a thing? He ends up asking Izuku about it over breakfast one day, which leads to him spending the next few hours listening to explanations while Izuku works. No, Izuku isn't personal friends with Nizu, but he is personal friends with Nizu's pupil, Eraserhead. Izuku is also the pupil of Mirko, who Kigo actually kind of considered his only sort of friend before defecting. That's surprising news to him, but less surprising than learning that Izuku was considered quirkless until a month before the UA entrance exam. And holy shit, isn't that insane? Izuku has had his quirk for a little over a year and is already stronger than the number 2 hero, him. Like he said, Izuku is a monster. That conversation leaves Kigo full of questions, but he ends up leaving Izuku alone because the kid really needs some space because, holy shit, he's doing a lot of work. Dabi calls him that afternoon, and Kigo ends up asking him more questions and getting more answers, which is satisfying. They also talk about how Gigantomachia is kicking the leagues but giving them a run for their money. Apparently, Compress has seriously damaged his prosthetic, but didn't tell Izuku because he was embarrassed. Despite the slow progress, everything seems to be going well on both ends. Izuku is almost done, so close to starting Phase 3 and looking a lot more energized thanks to the approaching end date. That is, of course, when something goes wrong. It's the end of week 4 when they get a call from a frantic spinner, talking so fast that neither of them understands. Izuku talks him through his panic, eventually getting some legible words out of their friend. Of course, it's not anything either of them wants to hear. Apparently, a group called the Meta Liberation Army managed to taunt Shigaraki into coming up with a plan of attack. A very reckless plan of attack that conveniently leaves out Izuku because he didn't want to distract him from his work. Izuku tells Spinner that he's sending Kigo out to help, and that their plan better work, or he's coming out there himself. Izuku looks more than a little sad when they hang up the phone, so Kigo rushes to his room without instruction to get ready to go. He's dressed and on his way in under 5 minutes, flying out the door with a wave while Izuku glares and stomps his foot by the entrance. It will take him 20 minutes to get there, so Izuku sits on the couch waiting without too much complaint. 40 minutes later, Izuku gets an update from Kigo. It's not the one he wanted. Need help, worse than we thought it would be. He curses, throwing on his uniform before calling the doctor with a huff. You're going to teleport me and my Nomo 1 mile away from the battlefield. And why would I do that? Because you're fully aware that I can choke the life out of your little program, and that I'm perfectly happy to do so. There's a beat of silence on the other end before the doctor sighs. Give me 5 minutes. Izuku waits patiently for the sludge to come, feeling the effects a few seconds before he's surrounded by gray goop. He looks at his Nomu, a frown on his face as he slowly watches them all be teleported. His friends are gonna need to grovel for his forgiveness after this. He closes his eyes as he disappears. You better still be alive, Tamura. The first thing Izuku notices upon arrival is the stench of death hanging in the air. He can smell it, smell the blood and dust and fire, even despite the distance between them and the battlefield. It stings his senses, sharpens his thoughts, eyes glowing green as they look out. He stares at the sprawling city in front of him, Dai and Kage standing next to him as they wait for his command. It takes a few seconds to narrow in on the starting point, a damaged area devoid of life. That's where he'll get a read on where he needs to go, what will guide him through the city. Getting there is easy, though he does need to hold back slightly so Dai can keep up. Kage stays close to his side with a wide smile and vibrating limbs, matching his speed with ease. They arrive in less than a minute despite Dai's slower pace, all of them faster than any human should be. The first thing Izuku notices is the stench of death, the second is the sight of dust and blood and charred concrete spreading out from where it all started. Each element leads in a different direction, giving him a good idea of who is where and how they're doing. There are red drops sprinkled in the dust, but not a lot, not enough to be dangerous. There's no red on the singed earth, just blackened roads and burned buildings leading to the sound of a rather intense fight. And the last path, that of blood leading toward silence. Follow the dust. Tenko probably needs the most help. No, he should follow the blood, there's too much of it to be healthy. 9 taught Kage to help with injuries, just send him. You're just saying that cuz Tamura is your grandkid dash, hey. Kage can only help a little, so he show dash. Hush, let me think. The voices go quiet, neither Nomo looking at him because they're used to him talking to thin air. He looks at the paths, staring at the dust and blood the longest before sighing and making his decision. Kage, follow the burns. Dai, follow the dust. I'm going after Toga. They make their own sounds of confirmation, nothing a human could create but perfectly acceptable for his children. Dai moves fast, Kage moves faster, leaving Izuku to glance at the destruction one more time before moving. He takes a few steps to the side before activating float and full cowl, flying over the city, trying to find his friend. Maybe there? No, over there. He checks one area, then the next, dashing over buildings and through allies in seconds as he ignores the shouts of those below him who must be part of the Meta Liberation Army. There's a lot of them, but nothing he couldn't handle if he wanted to. He's about to move on to the next area when something happens, something that sends both sparks of fear and joy through his chest. Twice, hundreds of clones, bursting from a fenced area like a wave. Hey, Trauma Boy got over his trauma. He ignores the voices, staring for a few seconds as the clones start spreading through the city, running out from the epicenter as they shout and yell and completely miss the fact that he's there, hovering above them. After those few seconds, he snaps out of his stupor and dashes toward the source, tensing when he sees the limp form of Toga lying on a tiny yard. She's inured, and so is Twice, who is kneeling next to her with no mask on, panicking as he takes her measurements. They don't look great. Izuku lands behind them silently, paying attention to danger sense just in case. Twice. His friend and 4 clones jolt, turning to look at him with wide eyes. Zuku, you're here. You can help. Why would he be able to help? 'Cause he's the smart one. Duh. Hey, we're smart. I know we're smart, but he's smarter. Can you help? Quiet. Zuku, Toga's hurt. I'm trying to make a double so she can get more blood, but I don't know. Izuku holds up a hand, walking past the clones towards the real Twice who really shouldn't be using those arms. You two, measure her. I need to set your arms. The clones do as told, staying quiet as they work against all odds. Twice looks at him with relief in his eyes, shimmying back a little to let his clones do their job. I'm so glad you're here, little boss. He's crying a little, probably from the pain, crying as he struggles to hold out his arms a little further. Izuku smiles, the anger in his chest cooling slightly as he faces the love of his family. That's at 9th, keep calm. Let me look at those, deep breaths. Twice, deep breaths. It works, the tears slowing ever so slightly as Izuku looks over the breaks. It's pretty bad, but it should heal fine as long as they get treated by a doctor. How to find said doctor will be the real question, but there are underground clinics that might be willing to treat villains if it comes to that. Okay, I'll count 3. Ready? 3, 2, 1, 0 dash. Snap. Twice yelps, but doesn't complain, just lifting his other arm so Izuku can do it again. 3, 2, 1, 0 dash. Snap. This time, he lets out a string of curses before taking a deep breath and turning back toward Toga. Of course he would be worried about her even while getting both arms set. Check her now. Check her. She's hurt more than me, she's not waking up. Somewhere in the background, Izuku hears a building collapse, but doesn't bother looking, focusing on Toga who is still lying limp on the ground. She looks pale, definitely lost a lot of blood, but there aren't a ton of surface-level injuries, which means internal bleeding. Not good, but not much he can do about it other than use the blood of the clone Twice made for him. He quickly sets up her syringes to start a transfusion, trying his best to stay focused without letting his anger take control. Whoever did this to her is likely dead or seriously injured, so his anger won't do anything right now. He needs to stay calm, collected, controlled. Twice fusses over her as Izuku works, struggling to keep his arms as still as possible while still checking for any more injuries, as though one will just appear in the seconds that have passed since he last checked. It's not very useful, but Izuku understands the urge, so he doesn't point it out. After he's finished setting up the transfusion, he checks her over one more time, patching up any smaller wounds he can help with. Twice stops his frantic checking when he's done with that, just leaning over her protectively as Izuku works. Okay, she should be stable. You need to stay with her though, keep her safe. Got it. Twice nods, shuffling forward so he's even closer than before. He looks determined and hasn't contradicted himself once this whole time. It feels strange, but Izuku is happy for his newfound stability despite the rough way it was earned. Izuku! Everyone in the yard jolts, looking up at the sky where a familiar figure rushes towards them. Izuku! Shigaraki needs help. He freezes, looking between Kigo and Twice a couple times before patting Twice's shoulder and shooting up into the air. Where is Dash? He doesn't even get the full question out before a loud boom reverberates through the air. He looks toward the commotion, eyes widening at the sight of a crater spread out through the center of the city, rubble and dust in the air surrounding 2 blurs battling it out. Izuku wants to bolt toward the fight, but barely stops himself so he can get all the info he needs. Report. Kigo tenses, but responds despite his distress. Dabi and Kage are fighting an ice user named Giton. I was helping, but I went to find Shigaraki when Kage showed up. Dai and Twice clones were helping Spinner fight of some small fry when I got there and Shigaraki dusted a building and then this guy named Redestro started fighting Shigaraki and they're fighting right now but Shigaraki is hesitating and I didn't know what to do so I found you and Dash. Izuku holds up a hand, stopping the panicked babbling of his friend. You did good, Kigo. Go, make sure Dabi is okay. Izuku doesn't wait for a response, eyes training in on the battle and body moving before he has time to even consider a plan of action. He knows the important details, and he can think as he works. It takes seconds to reach the edge of the crater, landing with a bang, the ground cracking under his feet. He could have landed softer. That would have taken longer. Green eyes scan the field, eventually locking in on his friend in the chaos. Something's changed, and it takes him a second to notice the white hair, but that's not the only difference. Tamura is injured, and badly so, struggling to keep up despite what must have been a second quirk awakening. He's moving fast, almost as fast as Izuku, dodging and attacking and dodging again as this Redestro person stays on the offensive. That's when Izuku makes a mistake. He should have snuck up silently, taken out his opponent before they had time to react to the new assailant. He should have moved faster than them both, using his speed to confuse, to catch him off guard. He should have, but instead, Redestro gets a hit in, and Izuku feels something in his chest reach out, a cry escaping his throat before he can stop it. Tamura. Izuku makes a mistake. He distracts his friend. It's less than a second, a head of white hair twitching towards him, wide red eyes pulled away from his opponent for just a moment. It's all the time Redestro needs. Izuku feels a scream rip out of his chest when a black hand slams into his friend, sending his body flying into the wall of the crater. For the second time in his life, Izuku's body moves without permission, legs stumbling one step before he's gone. Redestro tries to get one more hit in on an unmoving Shigaraki, but he blinks, and there's no longer a body to hit, a mini crater where it once lay. He looks at the spot in confusion, glancing around the area until his eyes finally land on two figures sitting on the other side of the field. Izuku gently places Tamura's body on the ground, air coming out short and fast from panic as he cradles Tamura's head in his hands. Sheet! Tamura, no, come on, open your eyes. Long fingers try to brush the dirt off of pale cheeks, only succeeding in spreading the small droplets of blood that are splattered like freckles over Tamura's skin. Izuku feels the air freeze in his chest, an icy heat spreading through his body every second Tamura doesn't respond. The anger is back, bubbling up, pushing at his lungs, spilling through his ribs. It doesn't cool this time, there's no one to push it back down, not even himself. You must be the shadow he kept talking about. He thinks highly of you, you know. Was convinced that you'd be able to defeat me without even trying. Ha! To think he said all that and proceeded to lose. I must say dash. Be quiet. Redestro freezes for a second, pausing to try and figure out where the sudden feeling of fear came from. Maybe this child? No, it couldn't be. He's so young, and he may be fast, may look strange, but speed isn't all it takes to defeat him, and looks don't change that. Whatever, it must have been his imagination. He doesn't notice the darkness liking at Izuku's skin, he doesn't notice the ink that starts spilling from the ground, oozing up like blood from a wound. He doesn't notice, puffing up his chest and preparing to win another fight that hasn't even started yet. Really, kids are so insolent these days. Did your mother never teach you any dash? He's cut off again, but this time, things are different. I said, he freezes, eyes widening as everything shifts, the ground shakes, the sky rumbles, quiet, all at once, the world crashes down, black shadows snapping up from the ground to wrap around Redestro and drag him to his knees. The fear he felt comes back full force, the sound of Shadow's voice akin to something dragged up from the pits of hell, digging into his chest until all he can feel is the urge to run. He notices the clouds darkening above them, notices the black liking at Shigaraki's skin, notices the pressure pushing down on him like he's in the deepest depths of the ocean, water spilling into his throat, burning his lungs. The child in front of him starts to shift, to change, to twist. His limbs stretch, his nails sharpen into claws, his skin oozes black blood, his eyes darken until there's nothing left but black. Izuku turns, facing his target, anger spilling into his lungs until there's nothing else to find, nothing but demonic shadows that pull at his mind, that tell him to kill. He's about to move, to attack, to tear, when he hears something behind him, the black ink halting its spread, though the anger stays firmly in place. Zuku. Redestro almost cries in relief when the pressure lessens, giving him room to let out the breath that was stuck in his lungs. Izuku turns around slowly, twisting until he can see his friend Tamura, who is reaching out for him, an unloved hand hovering over the ground as he waits. Izuku takes one step forward, then another, until he's protectively hunched over the body in front of him, long fingers pressing against a bleeding wound on Tamura's side. Tamura hisses, struggling to keep his eyes open, struggling to stay awake. Zuku. Izuku doesn't talk, black eyes watching the rise and fall of chest in front of him. The pressure lessens, the black starts to recede, the shadows going lax. Izuku stays there for a second, watching, waiting, slowly becoming human again as his friend comes back to life. It doesn't last long. Redestro waits at first, fear keeping him from doing anything, but as the pressure recedes, as the fear calms, anger takes its place. All it takes is a few seconds for the balance to tip, stress pushing past the limits to snap the shadows tying him down. He pulls, and the second he's free, he attacks. Izuku doesn't need to see his enemy to know what's happening, danger sense flaring in his head as Tamura goes to warn him. Redestro tries to grab him, but he's gone before the hand even gets close. He's gone, and Tamura with him, both seemingly teleported to the other side of the field. Izuku lowers his friend to the ground once again, faces his enemy once again, but he doesn't stop this time. No, 1 second he's standing in front of his friend, and the next he's back in front of his opponent, as if daring him to attack. The shadows stay halfway receded, still bubbling under his skin, still freezing his lungs, but it's all the power he needs to evade Redestro's attacks. And attack he does, hit after hit after hit that never reaches its mark. The ground shakes, the sky stays dark, black ink still bubbles up from the ground. Redestro doesn't notice the sudden influx of his army, all wanting to save their leader, to sacrifice themselves for what they think is the greater good. Trumpet tries to rally his people, but Black Eyes turn to look at the rabble, and everyone freezes in fear. He still dodges the next attack without trying. The longer this goes on, the angrier Redestro gets, building his attacks, calling on his support gear, pushing himself to the limit. I have trained my quirk for longer than you've been alive, like hell are you defeating me? Izuku doesn't care. He doesn't respond, doesn't attack. He moves faster than Redestro can see, like a shadow, a phantom, something demonic. The fear doesn't go away, but then Izuku dodges one blow too many, and Redestro snaps. Izuku knows what he's going to do before he does it, and the anger that went still suddenly flares with a vengeance because how dare he try to hurt my friends. Howdarehe. Redestro tries to go after Tamura one last time, and it's a mistake he will never repeat. He isn't even halfway across the field when the shadows lash out, latching on once again, dragging him to his knees. They don't loosen this time, don't relax, they just pin him in place as the demon strolls across the field, stopping in front of him with a blank face, eyes still black. Trumpet tries to rally his people once again, trying to do what he can for the man he follows, hoping against all hope that the demon is distracted enough for it to work. For a second, he seems to break through the blanket of fear. That's when they learn just how strong their opponent is. Stay. 1 second, an army is pushing forward, the next, the crater is surrounded by dark ink, tying down everyone who dared move. The pressure grows, the sky rumbles, the ground bleeds black. Redestro struggles, pulls at the shadows, terror pushing down on his lungs, making it hard to breathe. No one screams, no one speaks, air frozen in their lungs with nowhere to go. The League is there, watching, staring at their friend, the pressure and fear ignoring them like it has a mind of its own. They watch as Izuku lifts a hand, black ink rising from the ground, slowly collecting in his palm, growing and growing until he's holding a scythe above the ground like a symbol of death. Redestro stares at the weapon, unable to do anything but watch as it hangs over his head. For a minute, silence fills the field, no one daring to make a sound as they wait for the demon to move. Slowly, the anger in Redestro's chest fizzes out until all he's left with is a sense of dread. He assumed the League was weak, that Shigaraki was their strongest fighter, and that they could never defeat him. Shigaraki proved that he wasn't weak, proved that the League was more than just a band of wannabe villains, and yet he still wasn't the strongest. No, Shadow is, and now he will die because he dared hurt those close to the demon in front of him. As his urge to fight dies out, Redestro looks into the black eyes in front of him and realizes that he was never going to win. If Shadow hadn't appeared, if Shigaraki wasn't distracted, he still would have lost. He lured them over here with a confidence he didn't earn, and now he will lose everything. Unless. Shadow, the demon twitches, you have defeated me. I give you my life, the Meta Liberation Army will follow you. Kill me if you wish, and finish what Destro started. Create a liberated world. For a second, nothing happens, the pressure stays in place, the shadows continue to pull. Then, the demon moves, lifting its weapon, eyes locked onto its target. Redestro clenches his teeth, closes his eyes, prepares for his death. It never comes. When he realizes he's still alive, Redestro opens his eyes, looking up at the image in front of him. There, right behind the demon, is Tamura Shigaraki, struggling to stand, one hand gripping Shadow's arm, preventing him from lowering his weapon. Don't. Hurtyoda. I'll be fine. We could use him. His army won't work with us if he's dead. The demon seems to think about it, weapon still in hand, vision still trained on its target. Trust me. That seems to break through the black, a few more seconds passing before the inky black weapon starts dripping to the floor like liquid. It disappears back into the ground, a black hand lowering until he's simply standing in front of his enemy in silence. Shigaraki moves first, hand traveling down until his fingers are interlocked with his friend's. Suddenly, the shadows retreat, leaving Redestro and his army gasping as they recover from the terror. "We accept your offering." He looks about ready to fall over, pulling Shadow's attention away from their new allies. Shigaraki glances at the army surrounding the crater, eyes locking in on the rest of the League as he leans against his friend. "You have a doctor, right?" The Meta Liberation Army does indeed have a doctor. Multiple, in fact. Izuku ends up carrying Shigaraki to the city hospital, where the League gets initial treatment, standing over them like a protective deity while the doctors do their jobs. The black ink slowly recedes as his friends recover, until all that's left is their friend and the memory of what he became. Everyone remembers. They remember as Shigaraki heals. They remember as Redestro makes his speech, handing over his seat as Grand Commander to Shigaraki. They remember as Shigaraki labels Shadow as his right-hand man. They remember as the orders trickle down, as Izuku slowly changes them from the inside out. Redestro wasn't dumb, and he had intelligent people behind him, but Izuku is a genius. He shapes them in his hands like clay, bettering them, molding them. They're relabeled as the Paranormal Liberation Front, a name Shigaraki came up with and Izuku approved. They're reborn, made stronger, smarter, better. Izuku restructures them, slowly shifting their opinions from the inside out. Redestro wants to resist at first, wanting to keep his legacy alive, keep the ideals he grew up with, but even his own thoughts start to shift the longer Izuku keeps working. The League isn't sure how he does it, sometimes wondering if it's a quirk, but they don't ask questions because they trust that their friend will tell them everything they need to know. Weeks pass, Shadow staying in the dark, barely ever seen. Dabi, Kigo, Twice, Toga, Mr. Compress, and Spinner can often be found working among the rabble, while Shigaraki stays at the top, pulling at whatever strings Izuku hands him. But even Shigaraki shows himself to his army, proving that he exists. Almost no one has seen Shadow, and they would question his existence if it weren't for the image of a demon in their memories. So, they don't question it, accepting that he's somewhere in the background, digging his way into their minds from a distance. And dig he does, Shadow slowly creeping into every corner they can reach. And when he's finished with the Paranormal Liberation Front, he goes back to what he was doing before it all started. The dismantling of the Hero Public Safety Commission. It's already begun, Nizu having already started the process of an internal investigation. It's supported by such a high number of pro-heroes, no one even bothers questioning the origins of their distrust. They don't notice the strangeness behind the way they learned of everything that happened, don't wonder how the news outlets got the information they did. They don't wonder how it all started, because the heroes are on their side, so it must have started with them. The Paranormal Liberation Front watches as the Hero Commission is torn down piece by piece, Nizu using information that he shouldn't have against them until they're stripped bare. When the court case is over, there's almost nothing left, all the higher-ups either arrested or fired. Dozens of people are released from prison, illegally put there by commission lackeys, from whistleblowers to ex-agents like Lady Nagant. The true story of Kigo Takami comes out, and it leaves the public in an outrage. That's when Izuku strikes. It starts with those that the commission protected, those with such a rotten past that even heroes aren't all that sad when they disappear off the face of the earth. It's Stain all over again, but no one knows who is doing the hits until someone reminds the world of Shadow, of the Shai Hasaikai. Sure enough, Shadow goes public after his 5th hit, posting a video admitting to his crimes. He wears a mask and uses a voice mod, and no one can figure out who he could be, but it only makes his control even stronger. Tamura ends up confronting Izuku, asking why he's going out on his own, why he isn't using the literal army he has at his fingertips. Izuku says that he needs them for something else, that he needs them to keep preparing, to keep doing as he suggests. Tamura sighs, but accepts his answer, telling him to be careful even though they both know he's strong enough to take on the strongest of heroes without breaking a sweat. They still remember. 1 month later, Izuku officially dismantles the doctor's work, taking the finished Nomu for himself and putting the rest out of their misery. The doctor tries to sick his high ends on him, Izuku kills them all with shadows and scythes and black ink that bubbles up from the ground. A few days later, the doctor and a warehouse of dead Nomu show up on the news, mysteriously wrapped up for the police like a Christmas present. Izuku gets a text from a certain white-haired hero thanking him for his contribution. He smiles and sends her a picture of the small cat he picked up off the street. Once the doctor is gone, Izuku starts finally giving Tamura his suggestions. They work together, slowly dismantling All for One's network and replacing it with their own. Tamura watches with fascination as his best friend creates a worldwide web of support, bigger than anything he could ever have thought of. It's beautiful and slowly shifts the way of things in ways that make him wonder if they're actually going to do this, if they're actually going to change the world. When Izuku finishes dealing with the heroes lower in the charts, he shifts his attention higher. He slowly works his way up the ladder until he's sitting in a room with Dabi, making a plan that will send shockwaves all over the world. He's strong, please let me help. Dabi looks at the plans in front of him, hand over his mouth as he thinks. You really don't think I'm strong enough? Izuku sighs, crossing his arms with a frown. There's minuscule chance that you could win, but you'd probably die while doing so. The hand around Dabi's mouth tightens, his eyes narrowing as he looks at the plans for the 100th time. He joined the League so he could get closer to ending his father, to destroying the man who made his life a living hell. He wanted to kill his whole family then, all the people who left him behind to die like he was nothing, but now he knows better. Now he knows about how Natsuo reacted to his death, how his brother hates their father almost as much as Dabi does. How Shoto grew up without love, without care. How Shoto was abused even more than he was. It was a hard pill to swallow, a series of facts that took him months to come to terms with. And here he is now, finding a way to kill Endeavor without hurting too many civilians, because they need public support. There are multiple plans to choose from, like every other job Izuku has done with his friends. In some of them, the whole League fights. In others, it's just him and Izuku. Not a single one has him by himself. You really can't think of a single way for me to go at him one-on-one? I'm smart, not a miracle worker. Dabi scoffs, many people would debate that. Haha, very funny. But seriously, you need to be careful here. I don't have any high ends to give you, and I don't want to kill a bunch of Nomu for no reason. You either accept my help, or I have Kigo shadow you for a month. He gets an eye roll for that, a scarred hand picking up one plan. This one, it says that you can make it look like I'm the only one fighting. How? Izuku glances at it before responding. My new quirk lets me turn shadows into solid objects, but once they're objects, they stay solid even if they're hit by the light. I can use his shadow to slow him down long enough for you to get some blows in. So, as long as you manage to dodge whatever he throws at you, I won't even need to make myself known. But if you mess up and need help, I will come out. He says it like a threat, Dabi holding his hands up as though to give in to his demand. Okay, I get it. Speaking of which, how does the rest of your quirk work? Izuku pauses, thinking for a few seconds before shifting in place and speaking. It's complicated. You know how I look strange? Dabi nods. Well, that's the only word anyone's ever used to describe me, so I think that the quirk is somehow manipulating others' perception of me to think that I'm just strange. Think about it, we live in a world of strange superpowers, why wouldn't people just assume it's part of my quirk? Dabi tilts his head to the side a little. That makes sense. Yeah. But when I got angry, my body started changing into something much more dramatic. I asked around, and people still didn't see it as a quirk. They started describing me as demonic or something similar to a phantom, not a person with a scary quirk. Whatever mental manipulation is going on went so deep, it completely twisted their perception of me. The only part that they saw as a quirk was the shadows I used. And that wasn't directly attached to my body, it was coming from the ground. That black, bubbly stuff did look pretty cool. I don't remember it very well, but there were cameras that caught it. It looked neat. So yeah, whatever it is, it has mental manipulation, body mutation, skill enhancement, shadow control, and a strong environmental effect. I have been practicing, though, so I should be able to help you with Endeavor without causing too many environmental changes that would alert him. But again, I will be making myself known if you aren't careful enough. Okay, geez, I get it, you're not willing to let me die. DMN, I wasn't supposed to be alive this long in the first place. I was FING dying before you started giving me those shots. Dunno how you did it, Freckles, all the back ally doctors said there was no saving me. Izuku looks at him with an unreadable expression, the room going quiet as Dabi struggles to figure out what his friend is thinking. He can't figure it out, left nervously looking around the room as he waits for Izuku to say something. You know we don't want you to die, right? Oh, that's not what he was expecting. I mean, yeah. You're my friends, even if I didn't give you permission to force yourselves into my life. You gave us permission the second you joined the League. But, Dabi, I don't mean we would be a little sad, I mean we would likely tear down the world to avenge your death, okay? That makes him pause, blue eyes looking between Izuku and the floor. I guess I knew that, kinda. That's a weird thought. Please don't actually do that though, you've worked too hard to throw all your progress down the drain. Izuku chuckles, ruffling Dabi's hair before moving on. Just don't die, then. Anyway, back to choosing. These three are my personal favorites. For the next hour, they go through all the details, eventually landing on one option and spending another hour focusing on that. A week later, Izuku starts the process, gathering testimonials and every single piece of dirt he can find. He digs up stories about property damage that led to the deaths of civilians whose families never got even a hint of compensation. He finds proof of negligence and times when minor thugs were killed because they tried to run away. He finds anything and everything and slowly poisons the number one hero, the last one on his list. The public turns on him fast, already prepared to take Shadow's side because he's never been wrong before. People hound the rest of the Todoroki family, asking for their opinion. That stops when Shadow sends them a warning, telling them that his family is just as much of a victim as everyone else. They back off after that, only proving just how strong Shadow is for the 100th time. Not just anyone can quell the anger of the public, not just anyone can make paparazzi run away in fear. He gets a thanks from a certain young boy, reminding him that Shoto was one of the smarter ones in class 1A. A month after he starts his work, the number one hero has his license revoked by the Japanese government. For the next 7 days, everyone holds their breath, waiting for the inevitable. The police don't offer to put him in protective custody, having learned their lesson long ago that it won't help. A few heroes offer to stay near him to help. Endeavor angrily declines their offers, saying that he's not some weakling who will be done in by a coward that works in the dark. He's not expecting his oldest son to appear in front of him on day 7, doesn't expect the video release that tells the world about Dabi's story. Endeavor fights as well as he can, unable to get in any hits because Dabi has help. He must have help, how else would he be tripping so much? He never finds the person keeping him from fighting his best, long dead before he has a chance, Dabi struggling to stand over his charred body. Dabi smiles when he recovers, but it's not the manic, evil-looking grin everyone is expecting. No, it's small, relieved, a smile of someone who is finally free. And with that, the Japanese hero system has officially been gutted. Izuku spends the next week locked in a room before making his first appearance in front of the Paranormal Liberation Front. He comes with papers and files and plans galore, telling the lieutenants of all the things they'll need to do to thoroughly shift society into one that works for all humans, not just those that others deem worthy. They all watch in awe as he unfurls their future, watching as he tells them what they need to do, what they need to decide. It takes them 4 months to choose a course of action. You really think this will work? Kigo looks at the summarized plan with his head tilted to the side. Izuku continues handing out the summaries to the rest of his friends, eventually landing on Spinner before going back to his seat at the head of the table. I've gone over all the options, this one has the best percentage chance of working without mass murder. I want to keep public approval if I can, it will make what comes after much easier. Dabi nods, and Toga squeals in excitement while drinking her bloody orange juice. Oh, this is so fun. You remember that restaurant I told you about? The one with the special menu for people with blood quirks? Maybe we can go there when we're done. That would be so cool. They all smile, each one of them always happy to see her so excited about things. And it doesn't hurt that she might actually be right, that they might go out like regular people when this is all over. That'll be the first thing we do when we're done. Celebratory dinners are required after all. She smiles at Izuku, glad that she has the approval of the one who probably knows what will actually happen in the future. Tamura looks around the room before sighing and crossing his arms. Okay, Shadow, let's get started. It takes another 3 months for things to get going, and in those 3 months, the Paranormal Liberation Front sees a lot more of Shadow than they thought they would. He's suddenly in meetings, standing next to Shigaraki during announcements, walking among them next to Dabi or twice. He slowly becomes a permanent fixture in their minds, rewriting the fear they felt with kind smiles and warm words. He's strange, yes, and that reminds them of what he can be, but he's human. He's human, and he's going to lead them into a better world. Phase 1 starts on Saturday, November 22nd. Izuku stands in front of Tartarus, a mic by his mouth and a smile on his face. In 30 minutes, All for One will be dead, and the plan will start. You ready, Tamura? I'm ready, Shadow. The world holds its breath, waiting for the clock to start. Let the revolution begin.
Okay, sadly the chapter is over, and if you enjoyed the video just leave a like, and subscribe with post notification, so when the next chapter is ready, you will be notified. Okay, see you in the next video. Bye.